It is season finale time here in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge, and our climax of the season takes us to a circuit synonymous with the sport we love. It's the Nürburgring, of course, and we'll take to the sprint strecke for another couple of hours of fantastic racing, and boy have we had that throughout the season. Plenty of races, 5 different race winners across the season, culminating in that excellent round we had last time out at Austria. We are back for one final time. In the commentary booth, of course, it's Lewis McGlade, Sommel Aurora, and behind the broadcast, it is, of course, former iRacing world champion, Hugo Luis. Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge. One more time, Sommel. This is it.
Oh man, I love this music, I love the circuit, love the cars and love the series on the whole. Such a shame to see it end so quickly, but again, when you look at it, it hasn't been such a short time frame. This time has flown by because of all the crazy action that we've got right here, Lewis, and we may have a title favorite in hand right now, but still, the action is generally going to be crazy because what we saw the last time out of the Red Bull Ring, that was just mind-blowing. This could be even better, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, of course, seeing the GSR by Hetzner go from 10th position on the grid all the way up to 2nd in only a single lap. We'll be hard-pressed to see that once more, but we would love to see it. It's been a great season. We've been to legendary circuits like the Hockenheimring, like Barcelona, Zolder, Monza, Red Bull Ring, and now here at the Nürburgring. Just 2.25 miles round. It is a small circuit, the smallest of the entire season, in fact, and it's one where racing may seem a little bit more tricky, a little bit more tactical even, and that pit stop window is going to be so important, Sommel.
That 100% is going to be. It's full of corners everywhere. You're constantly being attacked by them in the middle sector. But then again, you've also got long straights everywhere else too. So there's a mixture of everything. It may not be that full big layout. But here, with the format, with having 2 different races, every single driver is tested out. Of course, nobody can run and hide. Everyone has to go in their set of qualifying lap each in different sessions. And so far this year, simracing, the 34 have been the masters of that and the race. They are leading by such a comfortable margin.
But they did have drama to face last round, issues in the second race in the form of disconnections. They were able to get their way to the finish. They were able to score some much needed points, and that pulls them 20 points clear. And of course, there are 52 points up for grabs across the evening. And realistically speaking, for Core now, it's in their hands. They are in control of this championship. But how many times have we said that going into a final round of a season where things have seemed so much they're going to lock to the form book, but then it can so easily switch round?
Absolutely, Lewis. It's all about holding on to their nerves right now, and that is something that the 34 car has done quite well. We saw the last time out the 35 was leading. They made an error right there at the Red Bull Ring, and they eventually ended up losing the win. The 34 also made an error at Monza while leading, remember, but they were able to hold on to their nerves better, and they kept that race win. It is just the same thing right here. Hold on to the nerves, stay in the top 10, you should be the champion. And in fact, I think if Core are P1 in this race, they are champions, and from the looks of the practice session, they seem to be on a roll for that.
Yeah, they've come into this and put in a decent amount of work to make sure they're going to secure the title in comfortable fashion. We'll keep our eyes locked on that. Of course, if they score, like you say, just 5 points more than the SimRC 77 in the first race, then the championship is sorted. We'll keep our eye on that maths as well. I think it's 7 points, but never trust a commentator's maths. I've said that a few times. But it's going to be a tough race anyway. It's one of those ones where it's in your own hands, and Core are so good at keeping control of that. It's one of the kind of things I wanted to touch on with this championship fight is whilst Core have had some issues, SimRC just haven't capitalised on those issues, and that's where the championship fights almost got out of their hands, where after the first round or two we were thinking that this fight was going to go down to the wire very, very close, whereas it's actually spread out quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think the 76 car, it's fair to say, had the more raw pace. They were constantly challenging, but because of their early disqualifications, and now I know this is something I've said way too many times so far this year, they just weren't able to put up that title fight. The 77 was, by the way, and last time out, Lewis, at the Red Bull Ring, it was clear. The 77, well, it's not like if they wanted to, right? They of course want to, but they just couldn't quite manufacture that race-winning performance that could have taken them ahead of the 34 in that race format, and maybe just a little bit closer in terms of the championship. So they missed out on a big chance right there, and that gives some breathing space, some critical breathing space for the 35 this time out. 34, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And when you come into a championship finale scenario, breathing room is critical. And when you've got it, it feels so good. It feels so comfortable because you're sat there thinking, I only need to finish like 5th. You've been on the podium most of the races this season. You just need a top 5. You just need to be consistent. Speaking of consistency, in the early stages of the season, we saw this team, Team RaceFox simracing, just being ultra consistent, 4 consecutive podiums to open the season. They were leading the title quite a bit. Unfortunately, it slipped out of their hands quite a bit, and the title race with it. But still, they are in a tight fight to grab 3rd in the championship. They're just 2 points off of the number 35, which by the way could be a bit of a hard battle for them to grab, but we'll keep our eye on that one. But still, it's not just the championship we're playing for, it is everywhere else. And RaceFox, with that podium last round, seemed like things were starting to turn around a little bit for the team.
Yeah, exactly. Things were, and RaceFox finally showed that sense of momentum right there in that final round at the Red Bull Ring. And then, of course, it dipped a little bit. I think Zolder was clearly their low point of the season, but just couldn't quite get anything going. But again, overall, I think in a way they punched quite high in the early couple of rounds. Maybe raise our expectations, but I hope that what I'm saying isn't true. I want to see them go out there. I want to see them fighting for wins, and say a result like P2 shouldn't quite be an anomaly for a team like them, who has, in fact, quite a fair bit of endurance racing pedigree as well. I think winning the last round at the Creventic Endurance Series is what I'm talking about in the GD4 category.
By the way, in practice coming into this, the fastest time was a 31.788. That was done by the number 35 core sim racing car of Maxine Ramstein. It was the fiercely forward IRS car as well. So you'd like to see a McLaren up there. Rebecca Pauline behind the wheel at the moment of the number 15. That one was sat in second on a 31.907. Then it was the number 34 core, and then it was the 31 Team RaceFox car as well. So still a little bit of work to do in this qualifying session, but we know how close these can be. And right now, being stuck a little bit behind the number 80 Maniti Racing car. That'll be the Maniti Racing white BMW, which I think of all of the circuits we've been to on the season, I'm not necessarily sure that this one's going to favour that BMW so well.
I mean, the BMW is going to be crying out loud. This is not a BMW circuit at all. Attacked by corners, and this stadium section is where you could feel it really go away from them. But again, a couple of long straights in the back, maybe that could help them out a little bit. Again, all things considered, they are going to be a hard car to pass because, of course, remember, they're wide and they are fast on the straights. And so in the corners, you can maybe try to send one on the inside, but because they're so wide, they occupy a lot of space. While attacking, though, it's not going to work out. It's like maybe me playing an F1 game. I can defend, but while attacking, no. Everyone's just 35 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll keep our eye on them because in practice their pace was actually a lot closer than normal, and in fact they were ahead of the 2 other BMWs. Kairos Competition Apollo on the grid. They were the final car in practice. They only sat a couple of times at the last moments of the session. We do also have the Acetec SimSports Volante racing car that's returned to the championship, and we know that Volante, especially based on Monza, whilst yes, Monza was a decent BMW track, but especially based on that, we know that Volante are quality in these BMWs. They had a podium at Barcelona in it, so they know how to wrestle this car around. So if Maniti Racing White can beat them, that's a very solid win and shows how much they've learned over the season.
Yes, exactly. There's that for Volante, and of course, if nothing, Volante are fun. You can expect that from them all the time. In fact, today, we can expect a barrage of BMWs, firstly with Volanti and secondly with Kairos competition, because both of them, of course, clearly not having that same level of pace as all the other cars on paper. But again, both these teams have shown this ability to just have fun, right? Go for some sense that nobody else would and make them work out. I distinctly remember the last time out when we went to the Red Bull Ring, Kairos were just having a fun time. Yeah, for sure, they went over the incident limit, but again, all the time they were side by side with somebody. I think fiercely forward it was, yeah. So that's how you have fun, right? Even though you know your car isn't the best, just go out there and send it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, it was the fiercely forward 53 there, Porsche, they were battling with for the most part of the second half of race 2. Yeah, sure, they breached the instant limit, and I'd never say that it's not cheating, but you're extending the track limit per se, and quite a lot of occasions. But what I will say is. I mean, respect to them. We had a good time watching them. And so, if they had fun, we had fun. Obviously, definitely condone some of that. Coming straight back into pit lane, by the way, is the number 35. Straight back into the pit lane for Course and Racing. The number 34, Pascal Stix, our championship leaders, by the way, been off on the run onto the back straight. So that's not so great for our current pole sitter.
Now that's a little bit odd, a little bit uncharacteristic of what we've seen from Cole lately. But to be fair, Cole, let's be honest, they've had a few messy rounds, right? We saw what happened in Monza. I think it was with the 35 car, I think taking out both the Volantis. I think the last time out as well, I think 34 had a bit of a rough weekend in terms of internet issues and all that's happened. So yeah, their discipline level hasn't quite been perfect. But again, they lead the championship and they've created that buffer for themselves.
Well, we're focused on Rebecca Pauline running through the arena section, and it's where it tightens up. We're going to see plenty of side-by-side into this section. We know we always do at the Nürburgring. They love to run 2 wide, sometimes even a cheeky 3 wide. If you're sat there behind 2 people that are going side-by-side through it, you might well think, I'll throw it down the inside here. Always ends in tears, so hopefully we don't actually get too much of that, because that never ends too well. We've got Kairos on screen at the moment, yet to set a time in this qualifying session, same as Alcantech NHR, who they also had some good pace last round. Obviously mixed in with a couple of issues on the PC side of things, if I remember correctly, and was able to get into the race, but only just.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin Zwemstra had a few issues over there in that sense. But again, today they're missing their star driver. Matthew Crisp isn't quite here. He's here. He's watching with us on the YouTube chat, but unfortunately not taking part. Taking an early vacation and the season is done. But seriously, Crispy, what a driver he was. And the burst of pace that we saw from Alcantech NHR at Monza and of course at the Red Bull Ring was quite an interesting watch. And I wonder if they've got that same pace right here today. It'll be fun to watch. The McLarens on paper seem like they could have a bit of a fun time, no?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what will happen when it comes to those McLarens, because we've seen great pace out of the McLarens on a variety of circuits. We've seen them qualify well basically everywhere we've been to. It's just that race pace, it only really translated last round, and that comes courtesy of the lacking tyre wear, realistically speaking, of the Red Bull Ring, whereas here is a bit harsher on tyres. It does require a bit of a softer touch, which the McLarens don't seem to have.
Yeah, exactly. That was their main pitfall in the endurance races that we've had with them so far, primarily in the Creventic Endurance Series here on RaceSpotTV. Just not working out. Initially, see the McLaren at the start of the stint with fresher rubber, pushing hard and maybe climbing up and gaining a couple of seconds to the other cars. But then, as soon as you hit that 25, 30-odd minute mark, that's when the car starts to bleed up. And that's when you see the time being lost. And primarily, that's been the case with the McLaren as well. I think we've seen it time and time again. Fiercely forward IRS were evident with their pace drop back in Barcelona. They were just not able to manage that out. And when the others were lapping in, I think, mid-34s, mid-34s or something like that, Fiercely forward and all the other McLaren teams were, I think, somewhere near the early 35. So that is a big drop in the car with tyres down.
Got to give a shout out to this car as well. Luca Wunsch behind the wheel at the moment for Maniti Racing Green. Currently qualified in 2nd position, ahead of the driver that topped practice coming into this, Maxim Ramstein, in the number 35 core sim racing car. So Wunsch is in a good position. Of course, they are running ever so slightly off where we were running in practice, which was a 31.7. So I would suggest that there is potentially more time in it, but I mean, even that, how many times have all these drivers left the qualifying session and thought, well, there was more time in it? Yeah, of course there's more time in it. The difference is around a circuit, with it being such a short circuit, the lap time's not very far, just 90 odd seconds.
Yeah, it's barely anything. It's a fast one, this. It's constantly go, 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 go all the time, which is what I love about it. People may think that, sprint layout is a bit short, it's not nice. But again, if you can make it work, it's a ton of fun. And Maxim Ramstein is making it work.
Expected to see him jump up into pole position. Will it stand, though? That is the question. One of those things, you can see a couple of people pull something out of the bag. Fiercely Forward IRS. That was a car that did a 31 as well. In this train, we've got a couple of decent cars. Maniti, 2 cars in there. Got the GSR car. Got Wimbo just jumped up in the 7th position for Kairos competition. So good on them. Clearly showing that their practice pace, or lack thereof in practice running, it doesn't really matter too much because they've still got plenty of pace.
Yeah, exactly. I just love that Kairos car. It's good looking, and it just gives that vibe of fun again. I mean, I know I'm overusing that 3-letter word, but I think we miss out on that quite a fair bit in the world of sim racing, right? And they just bring that little bit into it. Emil Windbo has been super fast. Dane Baird, whenever he's got into the car, has always been in a battle. So just watching them makes you feel entertained. And to be honest, why are you watching this if you don't want to feel entertained?
Yeah, we want to be entertained. That's what we're here for, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll say, although, there is one thing that I will speak of when it comes to post-race around here. If there is one thing to note, it is track limits may well be a little bit of a factor. It's not major around here, but running wide off of some corners, you can pick up the odd one here and there. Thankfully, in that sense, we are running the slower of the final chicanes, running the NGK chicane where it's a little bit tighter. In a sense, I'm pretty sure that NGK is the tight one and Vido is the fast one, even though it's just a sponsor name, but we'll roll with it. The fast and the slow chicane. We're running the slow chicane. The fast chicane is a nightmare for track limits. So running the slow one, so at least then we should escape a couple there, but I would still expect some to fall foul of it across the race, particularly right there where Crosney's just gone. That was okay, but the amount of drivers that we see just run too wide on the exit in the arena section.
Yeah, exactly, and especially when you're pushing even harder in the race, when you've got to chase someone or you're being chased by someone, there's a good chance you can do something quite like that. But makes me wonder, did NGK pay a lesser amount or something like that? Because they've got the worst chicane name.
Yes, but they do have the chicane names that when Formula 1 comes to the circuit.
Yeah, but it's not the nice chicane.
It's not fun, no. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, to be fair, I did a 6 hours, just the regular run. We did it in the GTE, in the Porsche, I feel so sorry for my teammate. The amount of track limit excursions that I've got going through the fast chicane. It's literally like one. Obviously, you do 3 hours. You split the race in half. I did 3 hours of that race, and I only gained like a very, very small amount of safety rating, which shows how much I cut it. Whoops.
But at least you had fun.
I had a great
that
time.
Corner. Or you can just send it in. You can, and the best part about that corner, I know we are rambling on about something that isn't a part of the race here today, but when you feel the car just fly past, when you feel that it's not in your control, and then it snaps back in right there, what a feeling that is, that corner.
Let's just open it up into the final chicane. I think we should do a vote. I think we should have the fast chicane for race 2 to really spice it up. That wouldn't catch anyone out or be dangerous at all. Focusing on the session at hand, though, it is Core Sim Racing that lock out the front row of the grid. The Maniti Racing green car, the 78, is in 3rd place with Fiercely Forward a little bit behind him, expecting a little bit more pace out of that Fiercely Forward IRS car. Other cars were expecting a bit more pace out of, realistically speaking. I mean, the GSR by ACV car, it was the GSR by Hetzner car that is not here today that was the one that took the double victory in Austria. Real shame not to see them out on the racetrack, because we would have loved to have seen them take to it once more. But Team Racefox, that's one that they're sat in 11th place. I know it's tight. I get that it is very, very close out there, that they're only 4 thousandths off of Maniti Racing White, but still, you'd be a little bit disappointed. And also the Aztec Simsports Volante car. I know the BMW doesn't match too well to this circuit, but I would have expected a little bit more from them.
Yeah.
At the moment.
At the moment, again, they're more of a race kind of team. I don't think I have seen them have a great quali ever. I think Barcelona was one, but they still had to climb a fair few positions to get up to the podium. So they've largely been about their racecraft, about doing something special over there. And mostly they have, I mean, if you can get a podium with the BMW M4 GT4 at Barcelona, I think Nürburgring is also possible. Nah, just kidding. I think we're expecting a bit too much, but hey, at the end of the day, they're here to just send a few moves, maybe make up a few fun positions, and considering the teams that they've got up ahead, I think we are going to be in for a few interesting battles, to say the least. A few very, very intense ones.
Well, I mean, if there's one thing that we were taught at Austria, which is expect the unexpected, in the sense of seeing a team roll up 8 positions in one lap, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't happen often, and around here it could very well happen once more, especially that run down into turn 1. It's so tight. We're right on board with Luca Wunsch across the line of 32.128. Does improve on that time, does close it down to pole position, does go back onto the front row of the grid, at least for now. With the way these cars are, they can get a couple of laps out of them, I think, on the tyres, so shouldn't be the end of the world right now. So, you know, close to pole, and I'm sure we'll go for one more. Got 5 minutes left of the session as well, so plenty of time.
But still, I think that's the closest we've seen Maniti to anywhere near pole position. So that in itself is quite a big one. And it shows you, right, that's how much the team has improved over the course of the season. And you've got to love to see it. You've got to love to see new faces come out there and challenge the existing guard. And that's what Maniti Racing are doing with their green car. The Maniti Racing green car, not the Maniti green coloured car, because all of them are.
They're all green.
Get the idea.
They should have changed the livery on them. Although, to be fair, I do remember, I can't remember what team it was. But there was someone when we were racing around here in the 24 that has been there from someone, I'm not sure who that was. But there was someone around here who, you know, whatever it was, green, and it was a blue car, and I'm just like, that is unacceptable. Unacceptable. If you're going to be called green, at least have a green car.
Have a green colour on that, yeah, exactly.
At least with black and white, they've got black and they've got white on the car, so at least, you know, they've got that colour.
Do it like Redline. Just, the base livery, the way Redline does it is amazing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Switching it up with Redline blue, then there's a blue coloured background to it, there's Redline red, so there's... That's amazing.
Was it ice? They've got the ice blue or that light electric blue one?
No, not the electric blue. I think they had a shade of Chelsea blue, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, but they've had
okay.
the thing
Sorry,
is,
Lewis, I didn't mean to do that.
No, it's fine, don't worry.
I should have said this to you.
Obviously, you know, I like it. We speak about liveries quite a lot on this because it's one of those interesting parts of simracing. I will say, of a grid, I've commentated on quite a lot in my time and seen plenty of it. Most of the grid, you sort of like you look at 1 or 2 liveries, and you think, oh, yeah, they're quite good. Considering we only have a 13-car livery and there isn't a 13-car field and there isn't a livery on this grid that I look at and think, I don't like that. All of the liveries are good in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, they're just beautiful, right? You have the 2 bumblebees, you've got SimRC and Fiercely Forward. You have got Racefox with that amazing font, and of course the way they've merged the colours in. There's the lion we're talking about, and it just suits the McLaren. In fact, Fiercely Forward, just a quick shout out to them. They've made it work for the Rallycross guys. Well, I don't quite remember which one, but I saw Luke Krause, one of their team members, qualifying for the iRacing World Championship. So that is also quite a big one for them.
Yeah, good on them. Obviously, lovely to have the iRacing World Championship of Rallycross. It's kind of one of those things where, because the thing is with Rallycross and stuff is that through most of the year, it's fairly competitive. It's just not really that competitive, you know, just racing in like just casually. It's fine. As Fiercely Forward IRS go up onto the front row of the grid. Nice lap from Rebecca Pauline. Was expecting that one a little bit earlier. Finally delivering on it, and hopefully we might see the Fiercely Forward IRS car contending for a podium. We'll have to wait and see on that one. That's bigging them up maybe a little bit too much. We'll have to wait and see. We know the McLarens might struggle a little bit on race pace, but yeah, the Rallycross stuff, like throughout the norm of the season, it's not It's fine. It's good. It's great. But it's not super competitive. And then anyone who thinks, oh yeah, no, I'm all right at this Rallycross stuff. I'm gonna go for the Rallycross World Championship, and then it's like, oh, all the real drivers have come along now. Damn. And it takes such a level of car control and consistency to contend with them, which it boggles the mind how accurate you need to be whilst going sideways at God knows what speed. And with a constantly changing track.
And of course, Joker laps are a thing as
everything
well
strategy, yeah.
And jumps.
Which jumps are, as much as, like I say, I love Rallycross, jumps are the main thing. I think I'd say most people when they're new to it. It's the main thing I struggle with in Rallycross. Because when you come through, if you watch any of the good drivers do it, they're coming through at such speed, they're taking to the jump at just the right speed. They land just before the ramp ends, because otherwise you break your engine. It's like, oh my God, how do you get that? Again, the accuracy is incredible. So at the moment, we've got Core on pole position. We've got Fiercely Forward behind them. We've got Maniti Racing Green behind them. We've got another Core behind them, all separated by 0.04 of a second. Luca Wunsch done a lap to cool down. Final lap in the session for Maniti Racing Green. And could there be a jump back onto the front row on the horizon? Kairos have just had a bit of an issue. Just saw that on my other screen. Emma Wimbo, they are done with the session. An 8th position is as good as it gets for them. They are within half a second though of pole position, which is good for them. They are ahead of Team RaceFox, who might well want a little bit more as Wunsch comes up to the final section of the racetrack in that lovely Porsche. Is there going to be any improvement from anyone on the grid? A 32.080 to beat, and we know that there are 31s possible. It's just nailing it in a session like this is a different ball game. Does Wunsch get to pole position? Oh, there we go. I think that might well be enough. Well, we'll see that one fold over. I think it might have just been an excursion on that lap. I did see a 31.9 appear, but it never went through. So I think it might have been track excursions.
Oh, man.
They've got the pace though.
We were robbed of it. Come on. It was so awesome to see the Maniti Racing Green car take pole position. We've seen so many different pole sitters this year, but seeing Maniti, who were all the way at the back of the grid, come back in, and within 6 weeks of racing, come back up to pole position, that would have been quite something. But hey, at least we know there's a pace. There's enough pace for a race win, perhaps. Maybe. Who knows?
Also, we've got our championship rivals lining up very, very close. As much as there is 20 points in the championship, who knows which way it'll go. SimRC are right there with Core in 4th and 5th, although there is nearly, despite there being 0.04 of a second between 1st and 4th, there is nearly a 1/4 of a second between 4th and 5th, as are the margins. And they are just 3,000 ahead of Fiercely Forward as well. So quite a tight session there in various groupings. 11 cars within 0.6 of a second, and I'm sure we're in for another quality race, aren't we?
Quality we are going to get, that's for sure. When you just take a look at the qualifying gaps, there's barely anything to split it up. But then again, classic commentator cliche, it's one thing to do it in qualifying, it's another thing to maintain it, the race, over the course of your stint. And that is going to be a critical watching point again. And this is just 1/2 of the lineup. You've got another set of drivers coming in. Are they going to be just as close as well?
We'll have to wait and see, won't we? Again, we'll put an hour onto the clock and get ready for our penultimate race of the season. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Core Sim Racing on pole position. It's not the 34 though, the 35 up there after topping practice with Maxime Ramstein. Rebecca Pauline on the front row of the grid, just 12 thousandths down. Only a little bit back from that, we've got Luca Wunsch from Maniti Racing Green and Core Sim Racing's Pascal Stix in 4th position. SimRC's 77, trying to challenge for the title. They are inside the top 5, but have a lot of work to do. Fiercely Forward 53 lines up on the back of the 3rd row of the grid. Maniti Racing Black and Kairos competition on row 4, with Team RaceFox. Expect a little bit more from them, but maybe they will march forward through the race. GSR by ACV, well, it was the GSR by Hetzner car that started from 10th in the last race of the championship, and where did they finish? That's right, a race win. Maniti Racing White and Atatec Aztec SimSports Volante, the BMWs on row number 6. Final car on the grid, the Alcantec NHR car, which will be taken to the grid by Kevin Zwemstra, which, again, they've got a little bit of work to do, but necessarily, with how the racing goes around here, sit in the slipstream, you can get pulled along, and who knows what position they can get up to. Alcantec NHR are always a raceable team.
Yeah, but sadly going through with some internet issues in this particular run. And this is just a bit crazy. James for the team has got his internet blinking constantly. And yep, that's the reason why they were barely anywhere in this session. So, and they've also warned us that if anything happens, if they disconnect randomly, it's that it is just the internet. Oh, man.
Rough. It is always rough when you're doing a race expecting it to drop. You're just sort of like, oh god, when's it going to go? Right, come on, Somil. Who's winning this one?
You know what? I'll go for my heart this time. I'll say Maniti. I want to see Maniti win, right? But again, Faisley Forward haven't won either, so I'm going to say either of the two. They've had a few fun battles. I remember Zolder was amazing between them. I want to see these two duel it out for a win this time. Nothing on core, but just new faces.
I'm going a little bit more, unfortunately, to the form book. I'm going for the 34 course and racing car. I think it is championship day for them, and I think they're going to settle this in the very first race of the evening. We'll have to wait and see then. We'll have to do some maths. Again, don't trust us when it comes to our mathematics. We'll stick an hour on the board though. Again, a pit stop and a driver swap in the middle of the race. The penultimate one for the Virtual Racing Schools Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge. We await the green flag from iRacing as we'll see Core Sim Racing and Fiercely Forward IRS on the front row. Thomas Gibson with Maria Hrushka, and we'll see that run down into turn 1. Green flag is out. Porsche versus McLaren on the front row. You can see SimRC going on the attack in the background as Maniti Racing, both of them making some progress, and Team RaceFox all the way to the inside. The McLaren of Maria Hrushka though going to try and stick it all the way around the outside of the number 35 Core Sim Racing car. It's not made to work there. Maniti going to try and hang on to the podium, but it's 3 wide into the arena section, and that's our championship rivals going side by side, the 34 and the 77, and SimRC going to try and pick up the pieces. They are not able to do so. Oh, and Maniti's round.
And Fiercely Forward are around as well. Man, these were the teams he wanted to see do well in this one, and both of them have got big damage. Michael Yanni's front end is absolutely beaten up right now. But hey, at the front, it is a Fiercely Forward sandwich, and now Core 34, they have the clear advantage. They are 1 position ahead of the car they have to beat. It is the 77 SimRC one. In the background, I think I saw, who else? I think RaceFox getting swallowed. I think we saw German Sim Racing have a bit of damage.
Who else would have been involved in that? I think maybe Volante. Actually, speaking of which, Volante's trying to get past Kairos in the run up to towards the NGK chicane. There we have. Look at that dive to the inside. They have got some damage on that BMW, taken right to the curb and over the inside. The trio of BMWs here in the mid pack. I do actually quite like the black Aztec SimSports Volante racing car. Although I do quite like their standard livery anyway. We'll roll with them across the line. It is Core Sim Racing leading from Fiercely Forward from the other Core Sim Racing car, the 34, just ahead of SimRC. And Team RaceFox, who go from 9th position up into the top 5. A fantastic effort over the opening lap of the race from Lucas Gabler.
Yeah, Gabler, always a quick starter. Again, we saw them go 3 wide over there. RaceFox just smartly making their way up, getting into B number 5. And that is exactly what they need right now. RaceFox in a bit of an interesting position in the championship right now. They need as many points as they can possibly get. And this is exactly that. And now, the big boys are fighting.
Kairos to the inside. It's Aztec SimSports Volante trying to make it stick all the way around the outside, still with that damage on the front left, and maybe making it work. That is a lovely move in the hairpin as we skip from side to side on the GP loop, but they're still going side by side. This is not conducive to good lap times as Kairos fire one down the inside. They put on a great show in the previous round at Austria, and they're putting on one now, but they might well be frustrating the hopes of the Volante squad, still trying to complete that move. And Maniti Racing White will also be involved in the mix as near contact through the chicane, and finally, Volante have that position.
I mean, honestly, who cares if they're losing time to anyone else? They're just putting on such a show, and now the fiercely forward car goes past the Maniti Racing white machine right now. I think these are the drivers to watch out for. Right? In today's race, this is where you will get your genuine entertainment from. And I think Kairos, Maniti, and Fiercely Forward and Volante, they're going to be tussling for the next 56 minutes and then an hour.
Exactly. Oh, look at this from Maniti Racing Green picking up the pieces as Fiercely Forward dived it down the inside, getting past their teammate in the Maniti Racing white car as they now drop down to the 13th and final position on the grid and will just sit in the slipstream as Core Sim Racing are trying to pull away from Fiercely Forward IRS, and the other core car, the number 34, is having absolutely none of it, is sat right on the rear end of Maria Harushka right now. But is there going to be a gap opened? You kind of feel if 34 wants to win this race, it needs to get by ASAP. There's no team orders in court. They're just going to battle it out as they were. And at the moment, that 35, Gibson, is pulling away.
As it should, right? The 35 is also in a very critical battle against a RaceFox car. And so the 35 needs more points. Right now, I think they'd be fine the way they are, right? Because I think the 34, the 34 definitely has a bigger buffer to its title rival than the 35 has to RaceFox. So as it stands as well, they're pretty healthy heading into race number 2. But I think they want to secure the championship first on. But the message is clear. 34, get past Fiercely Forward. Maybe then we can do a swap.
Absolutely, we'll see. Look, let's take a look again at this absolute cluster running through this the final part of the arena section. So it was RaceFox who they got into a little bit of the Maniti car. And by a little bit, I mean they took a good chunk out. Just as they were running 3 wide through there. I mean 3 into 1 obviously doesn't go, but I think it looked all very clumsy in the middle of there, just as everyone was sort of tripping over each other.
Yeah, exactly. And in that mess as well, we get to see Algendek NHR climb 5 positions. We see German Sim Racing by ACV get 3 positions. Same with Volante as well. So it's been a game of winners and losers. And clearly the Maniti 78 car, the biggest one. But at least we know there is some concrete pace in that Maniti car right now. And what we can see potentially is a good comeback. Just wait and watch for that one.
I mean, the comeback is, there is definite potential for it, but they've got, it's kind of like if you were just doing laps by yourself, the comebacks, it's fair, you can do them. When you've got to get by everyone, it can become very, very tiresome. For this group, though, what will become tiresome is trying to pass the McLaren, which is super quick in a straight line. It's why it's gone well the last couple of rounds. It's why it dominated back in Austria, but that little bit too quick going through the NGK chicane nearly afforded the 34 a move, but still no way through. It has to be done at turn 1, surely.
I mean, with the McLaren, the best way to pass the McLaren is just wait for 20 minutes. It'll lose space, its tires will chew itself out, then you can pass. But are they willing to wait for so long when you've got your main title rivals in the 77 Sim RC in a similar car as you, trying to send moves like that one? So it's a bit of a tricky spot for Core right now. Are they willing to burn their tires that little bit more to get past the McLaren when they can clearly wait? I mean, it's a situation that Man City were in, right now. Just Juventus, I'm sorry. Do you wait for a year to sell your player, or do you just cut your losses immediately and get the work done? Yeah,
it's for right now for Core, I kind of feel they have to make the move ASAP, because it's not necessarily about. I mean, it depends how you're viewing it in the race. If you want to think about it from a title point of view, we'll ride on board with 79 to once again see that contact between RaceSpot. They are a little bit wide, and that little tap just across has then been slid into the rear end of the 53, just unloading that and sending it for a spin. Great angle to see that one from. Just very unfortunate and kind of one of that turn, lap 1 chaotic scramble. But yeah, if you were thinking about this from a complete title point of view, there's only one thing you need to do, which is to drop back behind the 77 and sit there. You sit there all night, all 2 hours of this evening, because if you're 1 position behind, it's done. Now let's see, is this going to be the move? Final corner, and there is the dive to the inside. Oscar Mangan is trying to make this one stick on Maria Harushka and might well be through, but the problem is when you're going side by side through the final corner, it's not fast. And right now, Fiercely Forward IRS are pulling away that little bit from core, and it might well open the door for the 77 Sim RC car. Again, a dive down into the first corner of the racetrack, clips the apex nicely. Is Sim RC as well going to come through? Is there still an overlap with that McLaren? Oscar Mangan trying to hold on right now as Alcantech NHR get by GSR. We'll go back to that in a moment as Maniti and Fiercely Forward are battling out lower down. It is currently core so close with Fiercely Forward IRS. They finally got the position done, and look who is coming through as well, because Sim RC might well be there, but is that a potential slowdown because RaceFox are now all over them?
Wow, Oscar Mangan. It's like trying to push a log across by a few feet, and Mangan has done that. He had to wrestle the Fiercely Forward car for such a long time, and that took some effort, some performance. And my word, I was always at the edge of my seat wondering, well, is it going to finally happen now? Is he finally going to get the edge? What a move. What a properly timed move right there. And now, Sim RC has got to do that all over again. That McLaren is a hard beast to pass.
Yeah, absolutely superb move from Oscar Mangan to stick that one on Harushka. And you're absolutely right, Sim RC really needed to follow straight through, but Jamie Moon was unable to do so, and now Oscar Mangan will light the afterburner to try and pull away from this entire group. And of course the 77, it can be sorted in this race. It is it needs to be a 26-point lead leaving the race. If not, then technically 25 points going into the final, because there is obviously a point for pole position. All I can say though is right now, regardless of the points, ignore that for a second, core 34 is looking very, very strong.
But that move, Lewis, seriously, it took such physical effort. And seriously, it's like wrestling a bull. It's so hard, and you have to fight, well, just beyond your abilities to get that done. I'm not saying that it wasn't in Core's abilities, but now Sim RC are trying to do something similar. There's a Sen, and I have to say, that is smart. They picked the right corner for it. They knew the McLaren wouldn't be as good as the Porsche, and now Kairos won a piece of it as well.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. Kairos dropping backwards a little bit here into the clutches of Maniti Racing Green as they rise back up the order, a bit of side-by-side running down onto the back straight away, and we'll see if can make it stick around the outside of Varstina. And I think this one might well work out in favour of the 78, and it might as well pull the 53 through. Oof, that's so tight to pinching through Ad Van Bogen and up towards the NGK chicane. Michael Janney to the inside, committed on the brakes, going to pick up the BMW as they slam it over the curbs. Really, really nice stuff though. Really, really nice stuff from Jamie Moon in that Sim RC car, and now we'll go hunting for the 34.
I mean, when you pair the Porsche against the BMW, right, it's like putting a heavyweight against a flyweight in an MMA. It'll just fly past, right? That's what the Porsche is doing. Clearly, it's so much smaller, so much lighter on the surface, at least it looks like, and you can see the difference, right? Kairos, they are a hard car to pass, but when it comes to passing, they will be having a tough time today. And that's going to be their story. But again, smart by Sim RC. Found out the right place, and just the flow of that move, Lewis. Oh, the way they executed it, like butter. It's amazing.
It's one of these racetracks where if you want to get by, you can pass around the Nürburgring. It's a myth that you can't. But you need to... Everyone always kind of focuses on one corner moves. You know, you dive from a country mile back or whatever. Around here, you need to set the corner. If you want to overtake down into turn one, you need to set it up from this point, or even a couple of corners earlier. You need to set it up from there because you need to know where you need to be at the right time to put them on the wrong line so that you can then dive it at that right moment. And it's not as simple as just pull it down the inside and throw it in on the brakes. Like, if you were to get to the inside, as we saw, whilst, yes, did get through, but of course for Core Sim Racing, Oscar Mangan threw it down the inside of the final corner only because he got Maria Harushka to run a slightly wrong line through the NGK chicane. I think GSR by ATV, by the way, have gone for a bit of a spin.
Yeah, well, Coming back to that same point, right, that you mentioned about Co setting up that move, when they made that move at the exit of the stadium section, it was set up at the exit of that final chicane that we have right there. That much. That's basically 1 corner, 2, I don't know if you count this one as 3, but yes, 4, 5, definitely 5 corners to set up one move. And it's not like 5 corners with a kink or something like that. 5 proper hardcore corners. So that is some good racing, really technical. And here's what happened to Christopher Hyman with the...
Slow down penalty, absolutely slow down penalty. Had to give up 1, 2, 3 spots running through there. That is not good for GSR by ACV, and they return to the position that they qualified in, back down to 10th place after rising up the order through the early carnage of the race. And unfortunately for them, they have they've dropped down a little bit, but there's still time to rise back up. As you've got fiercely forward, the 53 all over the rear end of them will be desperate to get through. SimRC, I'm keeping my eye on the other screen, of course, because I love a championship battle. I am keeping my eye on the SimRC 77 and the number 34 core sim racing car. It's fairly close, although not close enough for Jamie Moon to do anything on Oscar Mangan.
Yeah, exactly. And as we mentioned early on, you've got to just build up that gap. And for Jamie Moon, it will take time. It's not going to happen anytime soon. And I wonder, are we going to see a little bit of a play of the team orders? Considering the gap right now, unlikely, right? They wouldn't ask the 35 car to drop down 2.5 seconds, maybe 3 seconds now as it stands, to swap around the position. It's just too risky. So even though it is how it is, it still goes in the back of the Core Sim Racing 34 car. And I wonder, Lewis, how much does the 77 want it? How much is Jamie Moon willing to risk for this one? Because remember, the Porsche is slightly easier on the tires than the McLaren, so you can push that a little bit more. But again, it's, I think, one last shot, right? If anything, Jamie Moon has to go for it.
Has to, absolutely has to. And if the 34, if Oscar Mangan's paying attention to the title race, we'll just get out of the way and then just sit on the rear end. If you want to win, again, it depends on how much you want to win the championship either side. You've got those choices where for the number 34, they can sit behind the 77. The 77 though needs to pull out a gap, needs to go and grab a race win or something, or needs, to be honest, might need Core Sim Race to drop down a couple of positions, as Gabler's going to try and get past Maria Vrushka. This one's been waiting a few corners. They were very close in the exit of the arena section. And I don't know about you, Somo, I'm not necessarily so sure about this. It's got to be sent all the way around the outside. Oh, that is absolutely lovely from Gabler. So controlled on the brakes. I think there was a little bit of give and take. Vrushka not really fighting it to the apex at NGK and discretion, better part of Valor and all that, and just going to sit on the rear end of that Porsche for now. But what a move.
I think it's a smart choice. Reason being, I think Marie Vrushka recognizes that the McLaren could be faster down this very straight, and then Marie could attack. But that's not happened. So I wonder what that was. But now it is Alcantech NHR going for it over the Maniti Racing green car. There they have the outside line. It's a tricky little corner, this one. Descends downhill and has a big jump to it. Cut back it is. Oh, what a sharp run, Lewis. What a sharp one.
Yeah, it's where you get all these cutbacks and such out of T1, but that was absolutely lovely. And again, showing how much pace was in that Maniti Racing green car as it is rising its way back up the order like a phoenix and up into 8th position after being unceremoniously dropped down the order. Now comes out of the arena section, defends to the inside from the Alcantech NHR McLaren. This time going to be able to hang on and look at GSR as well, diving it to the inside. Doors open, knock knock, hello, says GSR. Still not able to get through, and it is slammed shut in their face as Alcantech NHR just managed to hang on with Zemstra driving right now.
Wouldn't they say knock knock, hello? I thought that's what they say in German, so... Either way.
Maybe.
Either way, they're knocking on that door. Maybe, and we know the thing with German sim racing, that if you don't open the door, they will knock the door down. That's what they did not a couple of weeks ago, I think only a week ago at the Red Bull Ring. But that was with the other car. That was with the Hetzner machine. The ACV, I think, has been on pole position back in Barcelona. So there's clearly some substance in this team, in this entry. Now, against Alcantech NHR, they are up against one of the best improvers of this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of improvers in the year in the sense of how much time, not necessarily on positions, but how much time has been gained back as GSR are going to gain that position now on Alcatech, and we'll see how long that one actually lasts this time. They got the inside through T1, but if you're on the outside run, you might sometimes get a better launch from the final corner and be able to pull firm. They're not able to do so, and so GSR are going to hang on. Oh, there's a dive back to the inside and fiercely forward. The 53 has decided to think, thank you very much, I'll come through on that one, and Kairos as well.
My word, Alcatech and HR being robbed right now. Both fiercely forward and Kairos just robbing both of them and taking away all their pace. That is how you do it, right? That is how you nullify the acceleration advantage of the McLaren. Just rob it. It'll be done.
It's not the easiest thing to do in the world, though. Again, this is the whole thing of like why we like seeing these kind of races, is because it's not necessarily all the different brands and such. It's about being as a driver, being able to actively think on the fly, how do I get past this car? Okay, it's really fast in the straight, so I need to pass it in the corner. Where's a corner that doesn't lead immediately onto a straight? Okay, it's the arena section. How do I get to the inside of the arena section when they're so fast in the straight? And you're constantly working backwards like that, and you've got to work all this out whilst you're driving.
Yeah, and still at the same time, there might be someone spotting for you as well. So there's so many things going on at the same time. Madness, right? I wonder how they're able to maintain their pace completely. I mean, back in the day, team radio while driving was a bit of a rare thing, right? Drivers used to say, well, how can you concentrate? Now, team radio has become normal when you're racing. Now, there's things like this as well. You've got a plot, you've got a plan. I just love how efficient the best drivers are at things like this one.
Well, I mean, it's always the best drivers that I know. They're always able to just have a casual conversation whilst driving around. I can't do it. I need to be. It needs to be me, the car versus the track, and nothing else. No chatting in my ear. No telling me that RaceSpot are dropping back at half. Yep, don't care. They're not a problem anymore. Right? You know, I like right now. If I was in the 77, if I was Jamie Moon, I'd like silence. I need to focus on attacking that number 34 of Oscar Mangan with all of my might. I need to be absolutely perfect right now, and that is exactly what Jamie Moon's done, considering the not necessarily the lack of pace from SimRC, but comparatively to Core, they've not had the control of this car that Core have had when they've been fairly matched all the way through the season. I think we might well be seeing that come to the fore in the race, in the sense that actually SimRC are well in control of this car.
Yeah, exactly. They always have been. It's just a couple of things here and there that go wrong. Again, we're missing the 77 car. The 76 car, my apologies for that one. And they were also superb with this. Again, it's just that in that critical moments, the core car has been able to keep their nerves a little bit better. Mine can immediately go back to Barcelona, where the 76 machine sent one down the inside of fiercely forward at turn number 9. Again, could be a slightly emotional move, that one. When you're coming back from a slightly low grid position, you do tend to make moves like that one, where you just know that it's not going to happen, but yeah, you just send it for no reason whatsoever. And that crash happened right there. Again, a misjudgment. Had it not been for that, had it not been for the misregistrations, who knows where the series could have been. But again, here we are, and it's all down to the 35 to defend off both these cars, 34 and the 77. And so far, Jamie Moon isn't quite going 110% on it, it seems like. He's just holding back a little bit, but why?
Oh,
so it seems, at least.
Moon was looking to the inside and potentially was going to fire it down into NGK, and there is a lot of pressure on Oscar Mangan's shoulders. Like I say, if you're going to drive this race like a champion, as much as it's boring, and I'm glad that this isn't happening, but if you're going to drive the race like a champion, you just get out of the way and just sit on the rear end and just knock at the door. Although, you know, don't write that off too soon. You never know what's really going to happen. Oscar Mangan, though, in defence and switching back to the inside, Jamie Moon, but that is completely covered off from Oscar Mangan. Might run in a little bit deep into T1, but no, Mangan hooks that apex absolutely perfectly and hooks it all the way round into the arena section. And of course, they're going to stay very, very close here and allow RaceFox to get back involved in the mix. And RaceFox having 5 podiums so far in the season of the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge. That is a 50% ratio, and I wouldn't necessarily see them, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them return to the streak of podiums they had earlier in the season.
Yeah, exactly. This is the battle that we've been looking to see on track for the entire year, and I don't think we've seen that enough as we start our competition get one position on Alkitech. It is Core versus SimRC versus RaceFox, and I think we've genuinely never seen them go side by side together over the course of the season. You can't say the same for Kairos Competition and Alkitech NHR though. They are just rubbing paint consistently, and guess what? A BMW has gained a position. Kairos are just amazing, man. I just love how fun they are.
Oh, Mangan. What's that? Oh, Mangan's dropped in the pit. No, can't be pit lane. Must be a slowdown penalty. Must be a slowdown penalty for Oscar Mangan. I was going to say it's too early for the pit lane. We're a couple of laps short as Zwemstra and Baird once again running side by side in that final chicane, and Kairos do complete that position on Alkitech NHR. But the drama at the moment is that Oscar Mangan has dropped a couple of positions and crucial points in the title race, but thankfully for them, their teammate or their rival is not leading the race, it's their teammate, and also Gabler is knocking at the door of the back of Jamie Moon and does not care one bit about the title race.
Well, Bosch, I mean, yeah, exactly, because the RaceFox car is fighting against the 35, and right now the 35 is winning, and plus they have that extra pole position point as well, so seems a bit tricky for RaceFox to do any harm to them in this stage or in this race particularly. What they can do is take a claw into the 77 spy, and that is something that they will love to do. And I think the reason why RaceFox were able to close up is because of all the battling, and now that's done, so it may be a bit tricky for Alkitech though. They're gonna swoop round and just make it look perfect.
Well, it's not done yet. Oh, there we go. There's a little bit of contact between the two as trying to get across the nose of the Kairos competition car, and Maniti Racing White are sat there thinking, do I want you to take each other out? I mean, it would be a little bit easier, it'd be a bit more boring, wouldn't it? But, you know, a freebie, a couple of freebies. Oh, is Kairos having a bit of connection issues? No fear that one might be sorted. No, back into the race, and it does continue. That is concerning.
It is concerning. We saw such drama with connection issues the last round, right? Fiercely forward-facing issues. What? That's a bit early on. So there's an interesting call. Both Kairos and Maniti Racing going for it very early. Is it just a BMW thing?
Well, I think it's just getting out of the fight and trying to go on your own path. Of course, we couldn't see any of the leaders come in because it was slightly too early for them, courtesy of them being a little bit further around the lap, but the window is open for them for the first time this lap by. And of course, as always, in the Virtual Racing Schools Sports Car Open Sprint Series, it is a 10-minute window in the middle of the race. Got to give you a bit of a reminder as well to come back at 1:30 UTC tomorrow to the RaceSpot channel to watch the finale of the Sprint Masters. And if you kind of think that this title fight might be a little bit interesting running into the final race of the season, the Sprint Masters is absolutely enthralling. It is super tight between the 91 and the 93 VRS SCO and the SimSport cars. There is just 3 points separating the two. It is incredible stuff, and hopefully it'll be a good finale tomorrow. Again, same format, so hour-long races, 10-minute window of pit stops in the middle, everyone having to do it, and then switching drivers. Great stuff to see.
Yeah, exactly. I will be watching that. It'll be such a fun one. Or will I? Unfortunately, I can't. Yeah, Creating Endurance, yeah, that's another broadcast. But when it ends, I don't want any spoilers. I want to see it for myself. What a series that is turning out to be as well with the GT3 cars. But Lewis, I just found out something very interesting as we see the fiercely forward IRS car. And it's a bit of an early one in relation to all the others, but again, I think they just want some clean air. And Rebecca Pauline, their faster driver from the looks of things, because Rebecca was the one who put that car in a second. So maybe they just want Rebecca to get some really clean air and send a few qualifying laps and close up that gap. But coming back to the point I was trying to make, the gap right now between SimRC and Core Sim Racing in terms of points is 7 points. Now, that's not in terms of championship. That's 7 points that SimRC are chewing out of Core 34's lead with this position. If they can get the win, it will be a total of, what's 13 plus 7? That is 7 plus 5, I mean to say. 13, yeah.
13, yeah.
That's what it is. 13 points that'll be chewed off in one race, Lewis. So that is huge. Core, staying where they are is fine, but their gap and their whole buffer will be down by a big margin going into the final round.
Yeah, it could be worse, but it's fine. They would still have a 13-point lead going into the final race of the season. This race isn't done yet. Remember that we were saying that they need to lead by 26. So essentially, they'd need to switch around from where they're currently at if Core are going to settle the title in the first race. But it does look very much at the moment as if it will go down into the final race of the championship, which we definitely want. We love to see it go down to the wire like that. And so, realistically speaking, not that I dislike Core or anything like that, but more so for the championship's sake. I'd almost be like, oh, go on, drop back one more. Go on. Let's make this interesting for the final race this season.
Let's make this interesting, and let's make sure that all the people watching in Core's office are biting even more of their nails as if they weren't already. But yeah, again, anything could happen, right? 13 points is a lot. It's not as much as 20, right? Evident, of course, basic maths, but still, you just need to have that buffer in case anything happens. That could be one of the things that can happen to you. Damien Owen Harris spinning it around at that loop corner back there. To be fair, they've got big damage, right? So stuff like that.
I saw that a lot in practice, or even in qualifying. Obviously, pushing to a different limit in both practice and qualifying, but still, it's one of those things. It's such a hard corner. As you drop downhill, the rear becomes very, very light, and it can snap on you in an instant. And it's basically unsavable when it does so. It's actually. The Nürburgring, obviously everyone speaks of the Nordschleife because it's a fantastic venue. Still not number 1 in the world, sorry, it's still Bathurst. I know you disagree, but we're rolling with it. The Grand Prix and Sprint Strecker layouts, we're running the Sprint Strecker layout today, but the Grand Prix venue as well can be accounted as well. Very, very difficult circuit, much harder than people think.
Yeah. Genuinely, the Grand Prix layout is, I think, underappreciated. Of course, it's under some unfair competition because it's always compared with the greatest circuit in all of motorsport, right? The Nordschleife, and there's no discussing about that. But yes, you often tend to just overlook it like, it's not the Nordschleife, it's not the same. But look at it as a circuit. Look at it just for itself. And it genuinely is one of the better circuits in all of Europe. Full of elevation changes, it's got long straights, it's got technical corners if you want some. You've also got a choice of chicanes, where you can have some good racing if you are a really big, wide and long car, or you can just have a proper flat-out send one if your car is light and small. So I think it has all that we need generally, plus one of the best facilities in all of Europe as well.
It is a brilliant facility. The main grandstand on the start-finish straight is absolutely incredible. Yeah. Obviously, for anyone going to SimExpo next month, they'll probably find that out themselves. But it's an absolutely exceptional venue. I've only been to the Nürburgring once, but it really is an impressive building in the sense of just like what's in it. Like obviously, you've got, it's not as simple as it just being a concrete grandstand that you go and stand in. Obviously, you've got your shops, you've got your this, you've got your that, you've got an arena. In there with a good few thousand seats and stuff just in the middle of it as well. You've got a subway for anyone who likes sandwiches. Who doesn't?
And
plenty of other things. And a roller coaster as well.
Yeah, and a roller coaster, exactly. A roller coaster. I want to be a part. I wish I could be a part of that meeting where they decided, I know the Nürburgring is missing something. Let's actually replace the old beautiful paddocks that we had from the pre-war era and made you feel like you were standing in the Colosseum. Let's actually build a big grandstand. And you know what this place is missing? A roller coaster. That is what.
It's almost. With the exception of the roller coaster, it's almost like. And I'm assuming it is I've been to a few racetracks and stuff, but the grandstand there, it almost feels a bit more like, in a sense, follow my logic, in the sense of it being like a football stadium. Because if you go to a football stadium, it's a grandstand, right, where you go behind all the seats and stuff, and you've got all like the shops, the foods, the all that kind of stuff. it's got all of that. You've got places. I mean, from the grandstand, if you're in the upper level of it on the start-finish straight, you've got places to get hot dogs and stuff. It's great. It's amazing. Love it. By the way, we've still got 2.5 minutes left in the pit window sequence, and what that means is with the time we have left and how long it takes to do a lap, it means that all of these guys will be pitting this lap. This is the last lap they can do on the racetrack before exceeding the pit window limit. So they will be into the pit lane very, very shortly indeed. And RaceFox are right on the rear end of SimRC. 34. I was going to say they've lost out more time, but they've been into the pit lane. That's why. So they're ticking off their stop, as is Maniti Racing Black, and I think Volante as well. Yeah.
Now I want to see how much we see the fiercely forward IRS car bounce back from this one, because that McLaren with Rebecca Pauline behind the wheel was fast in qualifying. And you give Rebecca a bit of clean air and you can see how fast that car normally is. We saw that again, first qualifying session of the year. German sim racing were close by, but fiercely forward IRS were the pole sitters, so watch out for that. Again, as the pit stops end up, the timing screen has gone for a bit of a frenzy, but don't worry, it'll be all right. And eventually we shall see the order being a bit interesting at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, for such again, I always say it, but that's because it's genuinely impressive to me that whilst we only have a fairly small grid. Normally, I'd be saying that as a complete negative, as being like, well, I mean, we've only got this many cars. It's always going to be boring, it'd kind of be one of those ones where I would have thrown my toys out of the pram and be like, nope, I'm not going back until we get more cars on the grid. But the racing this season has been so good with the lack of cars. It's been a little bit calmer today outside of the first lap, but realistically the racing that we get in this championship, between the 12, 13, 14, 15 cars we get, I mean, I would take good quality racing over 50 cars of garbage every single day of the week.
I mean, to be fair, Lewis, we saw a very similar big series have a big grid full of stacked drivers, but they couldn't quite produce a good race.
It did produce a good few memes, though.
It did. It certainly caused quite a fair bit of chatter, and if you know, you know. If you don't, we can't quite say what it is. But unfortunately, privately, maybe that would be a good idea. But yes, with the series...
Yeah, unfortunately, not overseas, so we'll get into a lot of trouble if we did.
But the series has been awesome, generally, right? I mean, we've just come to expect to have only around 12, maybe 14, maybe 16 cars at the max, but who cares? If the cars are firstly so quick, because you've got some proper big names in the world of sim racing right here, and secondly, if they're so clean and disciplined, it's just outstanding. Honestly, how many big crashes do you remember, Lewis, this entire season? The proper big ones, like where you can literally go and say, yeah, they were just terrible, very clumsy.
Aside from lap one this race that was a little bit too clumsy.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Maybe
not
one from Core.
Barcelona was a little bit.
That was just a start procedure.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's literally it though.
Yeah.
Right. It's rare. It doesn't happen, realistically speaking. So. Yeah. Not bad.
Not bad, crazy good the series has been, and I think it's all building up right now that it's slightly calmer. I think it's building up for that grand final. What can we see in this sense? And now we've seen that the Core 35 car has great pace, and now RaceFox need to pull out something really special from the bag. They've been there. Would you say that they've been there partially because of all the fighting between 77 and 34? So they've just been able to capitalize a little bit, but they need that extra X factor to pass that 77, and clearly that doesn't quite seem to be here now.
No, but I'm also, as much as I do like myself some RaceFox, I'm not necessarily disappointed in the sense of what this does to the title race. It just makes things a little bit more interesting. Now, though, Pascal Stix has the control of the number 34 will go on a charge. Volante and Maniti Racing Green battling it out over 7th spot. Speaking of BMWs picking up positions, by the way, there would have been one on the exit of NGK down into the final corner, and Volante taking over 7th spot. They are miles away from Maniti Racing Black, so this will continue to battle it out all the way to the checker flag for the next 23 minutes. I am absolutely sure and have no doubt. And again, the harder they fight, the more likely that the potential of GSR by ACV will be back a part of it. There's the dive back to the inside, a little bit wide for Volante, and Maniti Racing Green dive that one down there in the final part of the Mercedes Arena section.
Yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one. Maniti getting one on Volante. And who would have thought, right? You wouldn't have thought of this early on in the season, considering how the odds were. But good to see Maniti improving. Good to see them do justice.
Unfortunately, yeah, Ross Yost just being passed by the pace of Wunsch. Now remember that Wunsch did qualify that Maniti Racing Green car quite well. Got it up within a few hundredths of a second of pole position. And also, obviously, to third position on the grid. So the likelihood is that Porsche number 78 for Maniti Racing will pull away from the Volante. And that's no disrespect to Volante. RaceFox are knocking at the door of grabbing second place right now. They are not quite there to pass the SimRC car. And one thing is for sure, that the Core Sim Racing 35 is pulling away quite a lot right now.
Quite a lot is a bit of an understatement, and let's just focus on the driver, right? Maxime Ramstein. Maxime Ramstein isn't a nobody. Maxime Ramstein is an iRacing World Championship level driver for Core Sim Racing. Behind the wheel of a Porsche, any Porsche for that matter. Hell, you could throw him into the new 992 in a couple of weeks and he'll be fast over there as well. Ramstein is just mighty quick behind the wheel of any car from Stuttgart or why side? Where are they actually made? The GT4s.
Oh, I don't know whether they came in the GT4s are made. I don't know. That's a good question. By the way, with the 35, it's actually something I didn't quite realise, but the 35's only won one race this season. Which that surprises me.
What? Really?
As far as I can see, yeah, and that was at Zolder, the first race at Zolder.
That's right.
When it was the Core 1-2. They haven't won other than that race, which in the consideration that coming into this, I'm like, they're really fast. And they are really fast. Of course, last round, Maxime Ramstein, I think he had pole position in the first race. Obviously, there were issues for that car, unfortunately. And they did lead quite a bit of the second race, but were passed in the final moments as well in that thrilling battle between them and GSR by Hetzner. But yeah, the 35, just a single race win to their name this season.
It's a bit baffling to think of it, right? They've always been there, all the time. That's a bit crazy, but again, goes to show that it takes more than just pace in this championship, which makes the record, or for that matter, the number 34 even special, and it makes German Sim Racing's win in the last round even bigger, that they were just fighting in the midfield all the time, and then one fine day they pull out a brilliant race. And it's such a shame, Lewis, that we won't quite be able to see the end of it and find out whether that pace was just track specific or was there generally something special happening under that car the other day.
Yeah, well, we'll never. Yeah, this is the problem with like sim racing and motorsport and stuff. Is there are questions that you can ask when it comes to the ifs and buts that you never really get an answer to. The only way that you can get any sort of answer to is by just getting on with it in the next race. It's just by fighting for it, just proving what maybe could have, would have, should have been. By the way, just whilst we focus on this battle, just going to talk about the gap that is closing a little bit to the rear as Pascal 6 setting lap times around about 3 or 4 tenths faster, as once again Kevin Krosny very close to the rear end of Lucas de Vries. And let's remind ourselves, by the way, that Kevin Krosny, and this is not me trying to take a jab at Krosny here, but considering that he was the driver that qualified, this car qualified in 9th place.
Yeah.
So clearly there was a little bit of a pace struggle. Does this car look like a car with pace struggles? No, it does not. Krosny has dusted off qualifying and has got on with it.
I think it's all down to consistency, right? Krosny wasn't quite able to get it over a lap, but now when you have consistent timings coming in, Krosny is just able to stick with the 77. And in relation to where they all are in terms of qualifying, well, they're clocking in consistently around early 133s, and in qualifying they were doing a little bit more quicker than that. So maybe it's just that. Maybe Krosny isn't quote-unquote the fastest driver, but he has been the most consistent one out there. And I would have thought that the gap between RaceFox and SimRC would have extended, but no, Krosny has actually cut it down, and it seems like a genuine possibility that there could be a pass. Who knows?
been close on a few occasions, but again, the gap between them, it's coming down 3, 4, 5 tenths a lap to the core sim racing 34 car, and the expectation would be then, with just a quarter of an hour and slightly more of this race left to go, that Pascal Stix will be knocking once again back at the door of the podium after, I mean, let's be real, Oscar Mangan had a decent stint. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. It was what it needed to be. Could have done with being a little bit better, i.e. not getting that track excursion, but it's so easy to do, getting these slowdowns through the NGK chicane. Would have been the right part of this mix, but Pascal Stix is using this battle to time it to drag himself back into it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it should be, right? That you use your intellect, you just be smart as a driver. And this is where you can see the difference between the experience, how you can actually plan out things like that while driving.
It's all part of it. It's all part. Yeah. It's what, you know. It's what separates drivers. We were actually playing about in the team I'm in yesterday. We made ourselves stats sheets. Obviously, you've got like your FIFA trading cards, Ultimate Team, whatever, and obviously you assign yourself categories and such. And then you rank yourself between 1 and 10. Is all we're doing. And you've got things on there like preparation, which obviously preparation from if you were to rate it from team to team, is such a wildly different thing. Where some teams will put in hundreds and hundreds of laps. My preparation score was 4, which is probably higher than it should be, to be honest. I do not prepare for anything when it comes to racing. This is good though. This is good from RaceFox. We'll cut that point off because that is one of the ones I was going to talk about, which was Racecraft. And right there from Crosney, Racecraft is absolutely on it. Beautifully pounced on the slight mistake there, running through the NGK chicane from Lucas de Vries. But out of the final corner, of course, the outside drive is going to favour that Sim RC 77 car. But it's all about the brakes down into the first corner, where RaceFox return to having the advantage, and they'll just run the 77 out wide a little bit, and it is going to be RaceFox up to second.
That is what you had to do. That was smart right there by RaceFox. The fact that they ran SimRC out, because had they not, SimRC would be able to send one here. And that is where they could have lost that position once again. Good experienced drive from Kevin Crossley. And again, you get to see that. He may not be the fastest driver in that car, but my word, is he using his mind while driving. And honestly, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, his Racecraft score would be quite high.
RaceFoxy.
RaceFox, yeah, it was very RaceFoxy. No, the Racecraft score would be very good on that because, like I said, it's not like qualifying pace. I mean, I'd give a solid 5 after Q1, but Racecraft and race pace, those obviously where all the points are scored realistically. Obviously, we get a 1 point for pole position, but in the important bit, when it really matters, this car has always risen to the top through the season, with a couple of exceptions where things have gone poorly for them. They've always been able to pull something out. They've always been able to drag themselves into the mix. And like I say, to have qualified 9th, but to be competing genuinely for the runners-up spot in the first race of the evening, that is not a bad effort. That is 20 points. And obviously, we've spoken about them a little bit with their fight for 3rd in the championship with the Core Sim Racing 35. Yes, it's leading the way, but they're looking to minimise the damage there. And right now, the gap would only pull itself out to 7 points, which, with so many left on the table, actually it would be 8 points because they got a point for pole position, did Core Sim Racing. But still, 8 points. That's a gap that can come down in the next race, no doubt. Genuinely,
yeah. And things can go wrong, anything can happen. Just ask Core Sim Racing, right? What can happen in one single race weekend? They lost a ton of points the last time out with the 34 car for a very simple reason. Internet. And you can't even tell. Obviously, for IRS had that issue, Alcantech NHR have that issue. In the real world, it could be like you blowing a piston, or perhaps a suspension failing, or something quite like that. In the world of sim racing, there are so many things that can go wrong, so many simple things that can go wrong.
It's just the joy of sim racing, isn't it? Like I say, it's. I mean, you can put in all of your practice, and then suddenly you're. I've always said this before, and the reason why I bring this one up is because I have had this so many times when I've been racing. Obviously, you leave your replay saving and whatnot. And some people, you might be running a bit low on your C drive and you forgot to turn off saving replays or whatever, and so you'll be midway through a race, you'll be really in the groove, you're feeling it, and then Windows pops up saying your C drive's full, mate, and you're like, of course it is, of course it is. Right now, right when I'm trying to focus, a big blue bar has appeared in the middle of my screen, and you get involved in a crash or whatever, or you just lose that rhythm and you can't get back into it. And it sounds like you leave the race and you think, well, this is going to sound like a real racing driver excuse here, but it's true though. Like these things just happen. That's funny though.
It's genuinely true. I mean, it's like when you're working and you check your Instagram or any social media for 1 second, you've just lost it, right? You've broken that consistency. It's the same with racing. You make one error or check one thing here and there, and eventually it's all gone, right? That's all it takes for your concentration to break off in a bit.
Jeez.
Crazy stuff.
Oh, we'll see this battle continue. 6 seconds is the advantage that Course and Racing's 35 have over this podium battle that, speaking of Course and Racing, Pascal Stix is very, very nearly a part of, which, considering about 6 minutes ago, that gap was around about 2 seconds. It's come down a second over that period, over the last sort of 4 or 5 laps. And now the 34 is close, very, very close. That 77... Lucas de Vries will know what is in his mirrors. And again, this comes down to, sure, it might be unlikely, but you've always got to ask yourself when it's like this, how much do you want the championship? When you've got that pressure on your shoulders and you kind of think, I can't do this, I can't do this, how much do you want a chance at the championship? Because if you let that 34 car through, it's done. It's as near as makes no difference, done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, genuinely. You will just be piling on the pressure for yourself if you're SimRC77. And I think Core, they can just be intimidating where they are. They just have to be where they are. And SimRC77 will already start to feel a bit intimidated. And they'll get the hurry up message, right? When they see and when they check the mirrors and see, right, oh, it's Pascal Stix. Is the 34 car behind me? Right, I've got to hurry things up. I can't let things stay as it is. Because then eventually, well, if you're not moving forwards, it's just going backwards, right? That's the case between both the teams right now. So it could backfire as well for Core closing up, because then, of course, if SimRC eventually end up making that move, things just get harder for Core in the next race. Not that, I mean, calling it harder in the next race is going to be like reaching out to get your remote from the coffee table instead of the side of the other side of the sofa. It's that kind of stuff, basically.
Yeah, it's like, it's a bit harder, but it's still not like they're still in great position. And right now, I mean, the last thing that you want is that for there to be an instant between these two and then get involved in it, and then that's what ends your championship chance. So if I was Pascal Stix right now, this part, the final 9.5 minutes of this race, is about minimising risk, is about lowering it, it's about eliminating it almost completely. And how do you eliminate risk? Just stay away from everyone. If you don't need to go for the move, don't go for it. Just sit where you are. Just apply pressure from a distance. It's possible. You just need to be constantly there.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, these drivers are so experienced, they've got so much top-level championship experience behind them that they will know that. Normally, when you're new to the world of sim racing, when you're a bit of an amateur like you and me can normally be, you tend to just attack all the time. You're not switching those gears mentally as you should. But that's the difference between us and the top drivers. They are able to think that much better, and they know when to attack, when to defend, and sometimes when to be boring. This is the time to be boring if you're core number 34, not so much if you're in number 77. Lucas de Vries needs to attack now.
Like I say, sometimes a boring afternoon is a good afternoon. You don't need to be firing on all cylinders at all times when you're in this kind of position. I mean, I've talked to some of the best in sim racing. I'm sure you have as well. And their greatest drives, you actually watch them, a lot of their great drives will be the ones that you might be sat at home thinking, it's actually a boring race, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But they're sat there thinking, no, it was a great race because they did everything right. And when you have that thing where you do everything right across an evening, I mean, obviously not right now, but for anyone who watched the British Touring Car Championship. Oh, that's a bit tight and nearly coming off the nose there. Crosney dropping it over. There's Core getting involved as well. Pascal sticks back to the inside looking for a dive. Is it going to be committed? No, it's not. Bit half-hearted there and left on the inside. No move complete. The cut back potentially heading the way for the 34. If Pascal sticks, makes this move stick, then this could be it. This could be curtains on the championship. And it has happened, but the undercut and the switchback from Lucas de Vries has allowed RaceSpot to pull away. The championship contenders continue side by side. They're going to wrestle this one up to Varstina, and it is going to be SimRC hang on. But once again, Six will go for the cutback.
Nice. These are your championship fighters, the top two in the series. And right now, the Core Sim Racing 34 car should be fine where it is, but they're racing drivers. They want more. Stick sends it to the inside line on the show slow chicane. The cutback is going to be the realistic option, but he's not setting it up for this corner. He's setting it up for the exit of the stadium section. That's how much further they have to think while racing each other right here.
I'll go back to my point on British Touring Cars, by the way, because four-time British Touring Car champion Colin Turkington. I like myself some Colin Turkington, but if you actually watch him in quite a lot of races, unless he needs to, with certain exceptions, one of the more boring people to watch on track, because it's sort of like, well, I'm sat in second. Second's all right.
Yeah.
But you want to win the race, don't you? You want to like, wow, and it's like, well, you know, second's good for the championship, isn't it? And that's it. It's like it's that mentality of thinking big picture. It's not about race wins. It's about big picture. It's about thinking, do I need to go for the lead right now? Do I need this? Do I need that? And right now, if Pascal Sticks is thinking, I mean, obviously thinking, let's just have a bit of fun here, because the risk is quite low. They've got 5 seconds to the car behind, and even if that were to happen, it's still a low risk. You know, you can go and actually enjoy this battle without fearing too much on the championship side of things. But say, for example, if they were in one big train right now, I'd be like, Pascal Sticks, do not attack. Just don't do it. It's pointless. Just sit in line and be a good boy.
But again, right, we saw that indication from Sticks. I think it was just, it's a bit of gamesmanship from Pascal Sticks. Like, Lucas, mate, don't you want to go and fight for the championship? And when you're so big in the mirrors of your main championship contender, it has that extra weightage to it. Again, seeing a car in your mirror, if it's an origin white Core Sim Racing car, it brings pressure, right, regardless of who you are. But when it's the major championship contender who you're fighting, I think it adds a little bit more. So maybe it's just a bit of pressurizing, a bit of a nudge to SimRC that made up your game. Come on, do something special.
I mean, I wouldn't be asking, hey, my championship rival. I know we're still fairly close to the championship rival, but do you want to do something special? Do you want to get, you know? I wouldn't be asking my championship rival. I'm just like, do you want to just be all right? You know, just do it. Just drive around fine. You know, nothing major. I don't want any mistakes. It almost feels like a weak championship. I don't really know how to describe it. It's when if they were to have a mistake now, it's like, well, the championship, that's a bit of an anti-climax, isn't it? Yeah. You want to have that final moment of coming out of the final corner and thinking yes, but again, I mean, Pascal Sticks, they might well be thinking of a bit of last round. The last thing that they want is a technical issue in the final race that costs them the title. So score as many points as you can.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep on doing what you're doing right now. And Core have been very good at that. They were very mindful throughout the season, right? They know where they are, they pick their battles, and in case things are going wrong, they're able to recover and get back on track very, very quickly. That has been their best part so far this year, especially with the 34. 35, they've made a couple of errors here and there. That's why you see them fighting only for third, which is not bad, by the way, but still, you get the idea. And so that has been the defining part. Don't change yourself. Don't be somebody else at the final moment. Just do what has got you here. And for Core 34, it's just been mindful of the surroundings. That's all you need to do.
I will say for the 77, right now, if they do want to win a championship, if everything was to remain like this, the points gap would be 17 going into the final race of the season. And realistically, what that means is, in the consideration that there's 16 points for third, yes, they could get pole position, but then, you know, countbacks and such. if they want to win the championship, they realistically need to finish. They need to finish top 2, and they need the 34 to have a very bad day. And by bad day, I mean they need a retirement in the 34, which I'm not so sure about.
Unlikely, very unlikely. It's implausible, not impossible, is one thing I read somewhere in a situation like this. So yeah, maybe that could be the term you could use to describe. But still, the 31, the RaceFox car, has genuinely been the major issue for SimRC, right? With all this battling, you can see how far they've gone past this one. It seems unlikely that they are going to catch them up in a matter of a couple of minutes. So that's how crazy it has been. If they were second, they would be gaining quite a few more points in relation to where Core are. But again, they're not.
There will be a couple more laps to go as well. As you can tell by the time, we've got 1 minute and 50 seconds to go as we depart the final corner. With it being a 90-second lap, we will get a couple more, which I'm sure the 35 will enjoy to no end, just cruising around at the front, and probably in a more dominant fashion that we've seen from anyone this season, as they eye their prize for a second race win of the season. They have been totally dominant as they broke this train.
Easy peasy, lovely, and they've shown the same pace in qualifying. They've shown they can maintain the same pace in the race, not just with one driver, but with both of them. That has been the incredible part. And again, comes down to that driver lineup. I still don't get why they're not challenging for the championship, but they've got such a strong lineup every single way. It's just amazing that we've also gotten to see other teams coming in and winning races, because normally if you look at that lineup on paper, you'd be like, wow, these guys should win everything. But the others as well have such a good lineup. This championship has been super intense. I don't think the points tally gives total justice to how close things have actually been in each of the races.
No. Considering the trains and such we've had, the multiple car fights that we've had, there are... I mean, most teams in the championship will be left thinking, I dropped points here, I dropped points there, I dropped points there. I mean, think of it even today when it comes to pace differential between them, as onto the final lap of the race, the 35 Core Sim Racing car goes, and this will be a proper victory lap. But, I mean, even consider the gaps in qualifying, there's only 0.04 of a second separating the top 4 cars, so it can be a very, very tight championship. Ooh, this is looking good for the 34. They are very much on the rear end of the 77. I'm less convinced there's going to be a proper dive, and you can tell De Vries is having absolutely none of what Styx is trying to put on the table, defending over to the inside and holding that tight line through T1.
Ah, that is good. Just again reminding consistently Styx that again, I am your main rival. You can't let me pass. Do something special, SimRC. Just like a friend of yours punching you on your biceps saying, ah, come on. You can do better than that one. I think that's exactly what's happening between Core Sim Racing and SimRC. Well, if they get this move done, I think it's almost championship done, isn't it? There's no chance that you can lose that many points in one race, because P15, if they finish P15, which is the last place, 13 for that matter, you can only score 3 points. And
yeah,
I think they still win it if they make this move, no?
It would need to be a retirement if they make this move. It would need to be a retirement of the 77. I mean, it needs to be a retirement, as near as makes no difference anyway, but it would need to be a retirement from the 77 and a race win, so it would be as near as makes no difference. All sorted. One last corner to go, and Gibson and Ramstein will depart it, and the 35 Core Sim Racing car for the second time this season comes across the line and wins the penultimate race, the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open. And this is it. This is big stuff. SimRC defending to the inside, a little bit wide there from Pascal Styx. Did give it a good go, wasn't able to complete it, and across the line, SimRC 77 beats Core Sim Racing 34, and the title race will move on into the final. RaceFox Sim Racing as well, great drive from them to be second, 8 points behind Core Sim Racing 35 for third in the championship. A super tight margin, but a great battle indeed, and a great rise up from RaceFox, 9th to 2nd. Excellent.
But at the end of it, it is Core who have shocked everyone down to the core. What a performance from the 35. It's what many would call clinical. That's how good they were. And again, even their teammates doing just what they need. And Lewis, in many cases, we thought they were going a little bit all-more, thought that they were going a little bit silly, but no, they didn't. They kept their nerve and did just what they were recommended to do. Stay behind the simracing car, and they stayed behind right down to the very edge. Almost challenged that statement a little bit too much, but again, things are primed up for a big orange and white celebration right here.
They might have wanted to tick it off in this race, so they don't have to worry about it and can go out and enjoy the final, but that's not how these things go. By 10.3 seconds then, the 35 takes victory. Gibson, Ramstein, Kevin Krosny and Gabler alongside each other in second position, and Lucas de Vries bringing the 77 home across the line for a very, very well-deserved third place. A tough battle there to keep Pascal Stix at bay. Pauline in the number 15 fiercely forward IRS car dropped back a little bit in the race, but only to fifth, maybe showing there is some race pace behind the wheel. Coming through the early stage carnage, Maniti Racing Black to sixth place. Being a part of the early race carnage, the Maniti Racing green car, a little bit back from that, they rose their way up into seventh place with Aztec Simsports Volante in eighth. The GSR by ACV and Maniti Racing White rounding out the top 10. Decent from Maniti Racing White. Again, they were pretty close, all things considered on pace, and they were a part of the battles as well. Kairos competition, Alcatec and HR, and the fiercely forward 53 car. We did see Damien Owen Harris going off the road. Not too far off the end of the race, dropped down a lap not long after. Well, championships still open, Somel, and another great race to add to the 11 we've had so far in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open, and it all started here down into turn one. That side-by-side battle that saw Maria Harushka trying to send one around the outside of Core Sim Racing. It wasn't able to happen, but it was all about this carnage in the mid-pack. Picked up was Maniti Racing and Fiercely Forward 53 and the Volante car that got a good whack on the exit for good measure, and unfortunately a bit too much damage on the Fiercely Forward car. It would try and go on the attack as the race would progress, but realistically with that kind of damage you're always going to be a sitting duck. It was just the light tap there and the large hit from Volante. Racefox getting involved in that battle and just tripping up slightly. Bit of a slowdown penalty as well was very much one of the cases through the chicane, but it wasn't picked up there from Harushka as the Core Sim Racing car, the 34, would dive it back to the inside, and progress was being made by Oscar Mangan in the early stages, trying to make it a Core Sim Racing 1-2, but on that run into turn one the move wouldn't be completed.
Except it would, only a couple of corners later. This was just such a tremendously well executed move. They just made it work from the long run. That is what you need to do as a top line racing driver. Just foresee it, foresee your moves, understand where the advantage for your car is, and maybe if you can, just dial up Oscar Mangan, take up a private hour with him and learn how to do things like that. Outstanding. And then of course, simracing said, anything you could do, well, I can do better.
Would take them a couple of laps to make that move to the inside. They gave it a good go on the first opportunity, but it was a little bit later when they'd have their second one. Kairos competition and Maniti Racing as the rise back up the order from Maniti and Fiercely Forward would occur, but they weren't given their positions, and Kairos competition always there to put on a good show, and they certainly continued that, and the trend would be that they would fight whoever they were near and try and put on a good show for us. And of course this one, excellent side-by-side action, nearly chipped over the nose there, and the door was open for Fiercely Forward as well to dive their way through, coming down into the NGK chicane. The Porsche would commit to it, gaining the position on Kairos. This was the move we're talking about with Maniti Racing and Alcantech GSR as well, down into the hairpin. Such a tight section of the racetrack, and always fantastic racing down there. Don't get me wrong, I do miss myself the Schumacher S's and such, but at the same time that hairpin does provide a good load of overtakes.
I mean, genuinely, right? This is such a good corner. Sweeps past. Again, you can see another look of that Kairos versus Alkintec battle. And I love it. Love how amazingly intense all the teams were. This one carried on for quite a while. And again, it's those smaller midfield teams that have been impeccable in putting up a show, which is what you need when you've only got a small grid. This was take two. And this time out, Kairos were able to make it work. But then I think there was a bit of contact. No, not in this instance.
They just constantly race. Again, like I said, Kairos, their method there was a little bit of a brush on the exit. We were riding on board with the Maniti Racing white car at that point. Then the slight brush would put the McLaren ahead. And right there, the position was done. But Kairos were attacking for everything they were worth. They weren't letting anything slip past them. And were always involved in the battles, were always involved in the mix, and we loved watching them, as we always have done. We did at the previous round. They certainly like to get their hands a bit messy, a bit dirty, get involved in the action and try and put on that show.
Yeah, exactly, and it unfortunately ended up with this spin, but again, damaged car, stuff happens. You've got to put that behind you and move on. But I think this is a very interesting moment where RaceFox sent one down the inside of SimRC. My word, were we all on the edge of our seats when we watched this. Again, you've got to love the fight, got to love the spirit. RaceFox might not be in the championship, but still, the intensity, the competitive spirit that they showed in this move was just tremendous.
Yeah, it's absolutely superb. They're determined to try and challenge for third in the championship and get themselves back onto the podium on a consistent basis. If they get one more, then they've had 7 podiums across the season, which is a consistent effort, it must be said. The 77 and the 34, though, battling it out, and of course, championship rivals. It was super tight, and the 34 going for a switchback to the inside, coming down into that tight hairpin. Wouldn't be quite alongside enough to complete this. Had run a little bit too deep, and the switchback from the 77 would gift it back the way of SimRC. They'd continue their side-by-side, though it certainly wasn't done here. And when this is all fighting for the championship, should the core sim racing be ahead of SimRC, it's as near as makes no difference championship done. This was an important position for them to hold, and it would go down to the final corner a little bit slow off the NGK chicane from SimRC, and around the outside there would be the attempt from Pascal Sticks. It would be tight towards the line, but SimRC were able to hang on. Ahead of all of this, though, core sim racing, they were so in control in that 35. Absolutely fantastic.
Well, reminiscent of Lewis Hamilton over the course of the last 6 odd years in Formula 1. That's how good they were. Well, again, an orange car winning by a big margin. Could that be the trend of another big racing series in the world of motorsport? We shall see. But more importantly, can another orange and white car win the next race? And more importantly, is it going to be them winning the championship? All of that coming up, well, not in an hour, not in a week or something like that, just now.
Yeah, we've got more great racing coming up. One final race in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge. And of course, again, a reminder that tomorrow you can join us at 1:30 as we'll be going racing once more in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Masters in that tight championship fight between the VRS Coanda Sim Sports number 91 and 93. 91, for anyone who wants to know, Mitchell de Jong and Josh Rogers. 93, Dane Warren and Charlie Collins. A tight fight between them, just a few points separating them going into the final round of the season. If you want to be a part of the action as well, you can go to giveaway.sportscaropen.com for your chance to win a Lego set. Only one more to give out of the Lego Technic Porsche 911 RSRs, of course, as well, the VRS wheelbase as well. So plenty up for grabs. Go and get yourselves involved in that, and hopefully we can continue on this fantastic season. Just 3 more races across the entire, when you include the Challenge and the Masters. Just one more for us though in Challenge, and I get the feeling for a lot of teams here, they want to go out and have a bit of fun.
Oh yes, they will. Keep an eye on Volanti, keep an eye on Kairos. I think keep an eye on the 77 SimRC as well. It's near as much done in the championship fight. Now, I know that's not what a commentator should say. I'm sorry about that. Again, this is also not what a commentator should say, but still, On the whole, we would normally be like, yeah, there's still a fight going on. There's still something that can happen. It can. But realistically, it's not. So the 77 car could just be going out there. They could be having a ton of fun. And when a team like SimRC decides, right, that's it, enough of the seriousness, let's go out there and have a little bit of fun, you know that the racing is going to be good. And it's not just going to be them. It's going to be the second core car. It's going to be RaceFox as well. All things considered, this is going to be a dramatic end to the season.
If there's one thing that we've learnt across the season, whilst we have had a couple of rounds in the championship, in fact, the last two are where both races have been won by the same car. I mean, last round, of course, being the GSR by Hetzner and before that, a Monza. It's been the trend recently. But however, if there's one thing that we do know across the season is, regardless of whether they've won or not, both races have been wildly different. So from all you've seen in race one there, erase that, rub that out, and start again, because it's as if we've come here on a different week. We've come in with a different set of practice, and almost with a different set of drivers. That's how different the races have been.
Yeah. And many of them worn out, many of them tired, the others just fresh and raring to go. This is where you see the differences in both the camps, and that is going to be extremely interesting. By the way, now that we've seen Alcantara get a chart, thank goodness they didn't have any internet issues. I'm so glad for that. And now maybe we get to see their talents one last time.
You've jinxed it, mate. You jinxed Maniti in the last race, and now you've jinxed him here.
Nah. I need to get some good luck charm or something quite like that. Knocking on wood doesn't quite work seemingly anymore.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Arjuna was jinxing. I can't even remember who it was now. I think it won we decided that we weren't allowed to pick any of either of the championship rivals last round. In the Sprint Masters, mostly down to the fact that it. I mean, Arjuna's curse is pretty intense. It's extreme, and in the sense of fairness in the championship, let's not get involved. Let's just stay out of it. Let's not pick them too.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You know what? Let's still go for Maniti again. I know it's a long shot. We still have qualifying left, but let's give it a shot, shall we?
They're going to dislike you.
It's not going to be so bad. I've knocked on wood as I said that. I've crossed my fingers as I've said that again. Video proof available in case the cams are back on. So yeah, it's all lining up, at least in my mind, for Maniti. Because to be fair, all the other teams are going to take it seriously, right? You know they are. But Maniti even more so. They genuinely have a real chance, maybe the best chance ever this year, to go out there and take that one big win. And think of it. Fiercely Forward haven't quite got a win yet. We haven't seen RaceFox take a win yet. But Maniti, who at the start of the year was so far back down, if they take a win, how much of a source of pride would that be? It's just outstanding to see teams improve.
Well, just 26 more points left up for grabs. And what that means is 1 point for one very final pole position of the series, 25 points for the race win. Track position, obviously where we've had a few rounds where Slipstream has been king, track position is king around here. You want clean air, you want to be out there doing it by yourself, and Oscar Mangan already desperate to clear the GSR by GSR by ACV rather, of Christopher Hyman, and get just behind his teammate Thomas Gibson.
Yeah, exactly, and the GSR car, bit of a what can I say? Bit of a bone in the meat, if you like to call it that way. They're just stuck in the middle, and Cole want to get past them as soon as possible. And their little qualifying trick, and I can't even be called a trick, right? It's what every single team would do if they could, has worked out quite well for them. Monza was a good example of that. Red Bull Ring, they couldn't quite make it work as well because, of course, McLaren's were a bit faster in the drop. But still, they have been pretty good in qualifying. And German sim racing just want to hamper that. But wasn't it GSR the last time out as well who pulled out a little bit of a swerve with Architect? Who was it? I think someone did in quali.
I remember.
Somebody had a really weird incident back there at the pit entry.
Very easy to do to have issues. Exiting, entering pit lane in a session like this. Of course, they do all have to come round into pit lane. And look at this one big train. I will say this is very, very smart from Christopher Hyman. If you're going to pick up slipstream from anyone, it might as well be the number 35, which may well be, as near as makes no difference, a favourite for this pole position. And so if the 68 can latch onto the back of that, you kind of think if you do the same thing that they do over the lap and you pick up a little bit of slipstream, hey, even if it's only a few hundredths of a second, if you've done exactly the same, you've got a few hundredths faster because you're just sat in the slipstream. It's what I've done a few times in Champions. It's horrible to do, by the way, because when you're sat there in a session, you're looking in your mirror thinking, oh, not you again.
Exactly.
And it's just like, ugh. And then you start intentionally making mistakes on your lap. Oh no, I've missed the apex, but I'm still on my lap. Don't do that.
The game of one-upsmanship, right? When somebody just does a little bit of that. And in a way, it can drive you to be better, but sometimes it can be just frustrating if you haven't quite got anything on them. And that is fun to, I mean, again, we're being selfish, but that's fun to watch for people like us, for broadcasters, when we see somebody just doing what Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso did back in the lovely old Mercedes commercial from 2007. Yeah. Anything you can do, I can do better. For the drivers, though, it can be dead. It's a bit too mentally demanding, though, sometimes.
Yeah, I hate it. Great fun, though, to watch. Again, I always hate it as a driver. I'm just thinking, oh, for goodness sake. Across the line, though, and you can tell that GSR car has gone faster than the 35 over that lap. And as they cross the lines, the lap time's on 3 thousandths of a second. The 35's lap time was invalidated through all of that as well. The 34 just being beaten out by GSR by 3 thousandths of a second, but it was Team RaceFox who came through in the final moments there to grab a 31.9. Quite a lot of invalid laps on that run, it must be said, in the consideration we have just 4 on the board.
Interesting, yeah. And already, the gap's just amazing. And so far, it's good to see GSR also in there. But again, big names are still left to put in their competitive one. So maybe you could see something special happen on that side.
In practice, yeah, fair enough. In practice prior to this, Core, the 35, did set a 31.7. So obviously, they didn't have that much time in practice. Whilst it is a 20-minute practice session, some teams and such would have just gone for a bit of a breather or whatever out of the race. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of celebrating if you were the 35 Core car.
Yeah. Can't leave the race though. Still got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as if you could just start, right, okay, get the champagne out, let's go to town. No, you've still got a race to do as well. See what happened with Maniti Racing White. Just a bit of a spin by themselves whilst they were trying to hold it to the inside of the 53 Fiercely Forward car. A little bit embarrassing there as RaceFox and Maniti Racing into the pit lane, as well as the Core number 34. I think the Core 35 stayed out on track and did indeed complete a lap time. Only good enough, though, for 4th place. GSR improved, but not by position. Down now to 14 thousandths of a second to pole position on Team RaceSpot. So very, very tight margins.
Yeah, I love it. I love how close it is. And GSR always one of the qualifying specialists, regardless of the car, by the way. Whether it is the Hetzner car or the ACV one in the Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge one. But again, it's only the Hetzner car that's been able to translate it into a big win. Can the ACV machine pull out something special? And there's something in there. There's some great pace in there. Of course, it's German sim racing. They're evident in all the other major championships as well. So there's some substance behind. But it's fair to say messiness was a bit of an issue so far. And in the last race, that issue wasn't there. But the pace wasn't as good somehow.
I mean, GSR are a quality team when it comes to their pace, and ACV, like you say, they've had pace throughout the season. They've shown it with pole position as well at Barcelona and such, and some of their qualifying have been very, very good. It's just the race pace. Now, whilst you can pin that down on McLaren slightly, but not entirely.
Yeah.
In a sense that yes, the Hetzner car did win both races last time out, and whilst that is the only McLaren win of the season. McLaren's, whilst they've not been so great in the race, I think, they've been a bit all over the place. If you were constantly the top McLaren, at least then you can go, well, the McLaren's rubbish. It's like, well, at least you're the top McLaren, right? Yeah. But that's changed around quite a lot.
Exactly. And in the first round, we obviously fought with the top McLaren. Then, of course, German Sim Racing took that on a little bit when they survived, because Barcelona is the one race that stands out quite a fair bit. I think Radical's online track racer, it's a shame not to see them as well. They were constantly very good in the middle as well. And what a tough year for them as well. I know they've spoken about a lot of things that aren't a part of this race weekend, but Radical's online track racer, and that one I missed, they were really good.
They did not have a good start to the season, unfortunately. Had great pace, were running really well, and I think both of their drivers that weekend were taken out at the hairpin in both race 1 and race 2, which did not really start their season out in the best form, and having various issues throughout the season, mostly, at least as far as what we've seen, kind of out of their hands, which I get why that would be really frustrating.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes, the highs and lows of motorsport and sim racing.
Well, speaking of highs, there was Mini getting a bit of a high side.
Big 2 wheels.
Yeah. I didn't think that the BMW could fly that much. That is a B.
Good effort, though.
Good effort, yeah. I heard in the X Games you get extra points for what am I saying? My English has gone for a toss. Basically, you get more points for the more air you get on a jump. So maybe don't mind trying.
We implement that to various sim racing championships. Only rather than air, 2 wheels. If you get 2 wheels over a curve, it's an extra point in the championship.
Yeah, like a game of Burnout, right? Where you get more combo points the more you're in the air, or the more you're sliding, or something quite like that.
Yeah, if you can go onto 2 wheels, and I don't mean a little bit, I mean 2 wheels up in the air so you can fit another car underneath your other wheels. Boom, extra point.
Oh, how about in the world of Rallycross? Maybe you can keep 3 wheels down. Maybe you get some extra points. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. Obviously, fun championship and stuff. Why not? There you go. Have a bit of fun with the point score. It doesn't need to be the standard basic that we've dealt with. I mean, I'm not actually genuinely suggesting we should do that, but at the same time, there is part of me that'd be like, that'd be pretty funny, though, wouldn't it? As Jamie and me were on board with, we've got a commentator on a different championship elsewhere. And one of the awards we've got, it's called the Hunt for the Apex Award, which is given out more to the rookie class, and it's the award for basically biggest distance between car and apex from the racing line to a corner, which I think is a fantastic award. Yeah, I can't remember what the award is for that one. I think it's something like a hot lap with Shane Van Gisbergen or something like that, which is not a bad prize, by the way. In real life?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Where can I sign up?
Yeah, right. But again, I can miss apexes for days. But no, it's like that kind of stuff. Like it's great. Like that kind of stuff, great because you're encouraging. I mean, for one, you're encouraging bad driving, so that's not so great. But you are encouraging new people into sim racing and stuff, and you're giving them awards, right? Not just for the race winners, but also for kind of. I know it's like the pat on the back. Oh, well done, you're here. But more so, like you're actually trying, right? You're actually giving it a go. You are testing and trying yourself, rather than just going, oh well, these guys are all really good. I don't want to get any better.
Yeah. Now, again, it comes back to the whole point of fun. And it can be a bit of a mix when sometimes you have too much fun. There's got to be someone who says, this is not worth my time. I ought to be doing something more serious. Or when things are a bit too serious, you need someone to light up the mood. And that sort of an award can make things a bit fun. But again, how about for that prize, Shane Van Gisbergen takes you for a hot lap and he tries to miss the apexes. Frightening, no?
Do you think he would? Actually, to be fair, in that series, I have seen Shane Van Gisbergen miss an apex and he retired from the race for doing it. So I don't think racing drivers they're not so great at missing apexes, because when they do, they miss the apex at such a speed they are definitely out of the race.
I mean, you could do the opposite, or maybe take one of those dirt oval cars, put them at Le Mans, as one championship genuinely did in real life, and then make sure that they try to hit an apex, if anything.
Oof. That would be, yeah. The dirt oval car doesn't track straight, does it?
It doesn't. It just it just constantly goes right. I love it.
Yeah. And it's like quite a wobbly one as well. It moves all kind of all over the place. Yeah, I think I've seen a couple of friends give that one a go. Oof. Yeah, not me. I mean, that would keep you awake though for an endurance race. I'll tell you that. 14 thousandths of a second, the difference between pole position. It is Racebox hanging on at the moment. DSR, Core. Where is SimRC? They are only in 5th place. Again, the same sort of gap between the 34 and the 77 as it was in the last race. Only, you know, it's still about a quarter of a second. So it's not going so great for SimRC, at least not in qualifying.
Yeah, again, I don't think we've seen SimRC do a world of good in qualifying yet. I think they've been more of a race one. Qualifying has been more of a territory of GSR, maybe Core a couple of times here and there. I don't distinctively remember SimRC taking pole, so you can expect more of that in the race from them. But talk about having tough cars to pass. They've got the 35, then the 34, and after you've done that, after you've put in a Herculean effort to pass two of the best cars in the championship, then you come up with a rapidly improving German sim racing and Racebox, the most consistent team, I mean, at least for a while, in this championship. This is just looking increasingly uphill, perhaps more uphill than the run to... What corner is really uphill at the Nordschleife?
Up Mutkörbe, down towards...
Curve, exactly, yeah, there's one.
Exactly, there you go. I know the Nordschleife.
Happy Arjuna noises, he'll be proud.
Yeah, I mean, I've only ever raced there once. I've got a trophy from it, and I decided that I was never going to race there again. Oh, as Gibson goes for a bit of a spin, that's going to delay a couple of lap times as well. Oof, that was close from the fiercely forward IRS car diving its way through the middle of it. Not a great qualifying at the moment from Maria Hruska, down in 9th spot. What have we seen?
What I've seen is something very fun. Now, remember what happened in the last race? 35-1 in that particular race. Again, a tremendous performance from them. And where was Racefox? Racefox was second. Now, they've got a really tight battle going on right now. Coming into this championship, this final round of the championship, I mean to say, it was only 2 points separating the two of them. And now, with that pole position that they got from the first race, 35 Core Sim Racing car was able to take it to 3 points. And then with the race win, they were able to build up a gap of, say, 5 points. So 5 and 3, 8.
Up to 8.
Basically, yes. Racebox needs to score 9 more points, win this one. And as it stands, how many more would they be scoring? 5 to the second place. Let me do my quick math for a second.
It would be, yeah, that's... Oh, they would. At this point, if they were to finish where they are and grab pole position, I'm pretty sure they would jump by a single point, right?
I think they would, yes, that is correct.
Let's be honest, though, that 35 is not holding on to 4th place. They are moving forward to 4th if they were in that positioning at the end of the... I mean, obviously, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Who knows where it's going to be? And Team Racefox are doing exactly what they need to at the moment. How fantastic would it be to see Team Racefox Sim Racing winning the final race of the season? Race 1 at Austria, they were 5th. Race 2, they were 3rd. Race 1 here, they were 2nd. Keep the improvement up, lads. Come on. Race 2, final race of the season here at the Nürburgring. Get a race win.
But it's been long overdue, right?
Yeah.
It's been long overdue. We need to see that race win. It'll be so awesome. We've been supporting and maybe watching and tracking Racefox for this entire season. They've done it before in other championships, mind you. It's not like Racefox cannot win a race anywhere. Just this one. Just the jinx that needs to be broken. And, okay, I think I'm going to reverse jinx now. I think Racefox are going to have a bad race. And they're not going to be finishing outside the podium.
Smart move. They're going to have a terrible one. Awful race. By the way, I'm just going to say, because obviously, you know, we like to speak of instant points, which when you pass 20, you get you'll get a time penalty. There were 2 cars in the last race that passed 20. One of them is Kairos competition. Fair enough. They put on a good show though, so worth it. And the 53 Fiercely Forward car, they had 21. Everyone else was below the 20 limit. As speaking of fiercely forward, the 53 jumps up into 5th place, demoting SimRC another spot and getting within 2/10 of pole position as they were sat on the rear end of the 34. There were a couple of cars quite close though. The SimRC and the 34 were quite close. They were on 17 and 16. It's not on the cusp, but it's close enough to be like, oh, it's a bit concerning. 6th place, Maniti Racing Black, 6th, lowest of the entire race. Good on them.
To be fair, they were not really involved in much for most of the races as well, so they don't need to push extra hard or get those 1Xs, but I'm intrigued to see how... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're pretty consistent all the way through. I mean, you've got to give it to them.
Yeah. It's the problem with when you're driving by yourself, though, you can just get complacent and be like, oh, well, you know, I'll just drive out here, and then, oh, there's another one, oh, there's another one. Whereas when you're on the very, very limit, sometimes you're so focused that you don't get any because you're just boom, 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 doing everything just right.
And with that as well, right, you have, I mean, that's so true. So focused and not being complacent, that is an essential part. Again, cleanliness has been a good aspect about it. Pace has not really been there, but they've been improving. But cleanliness has always been there with Maniti so far. And I want to be seeing this data. Can we, I mean, is there any way which we can find out that what proportion of the points of each team were accounted to that final chicane? Because quite a few of them, I remember, got the slowdown or something like that.
I know there would have been a couple picked up, obviously, through the first, well, the first time they went to the arena section. A lot of teams would have probably got a 4 there. I mean, at least 3 did. You never know. Like sometimes you get a little bit too close and you get one because you were as near as makes a difference, didn't make contact. So there might be the odd 4X appearing there, but definitely at least for Maniti Racing. This forward for RaceSpot probably picked one 4X up in that as well, and of course Volante coming through the middle of all of it. So you've got those to pick up, but then yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the cuts would have come through the final chicane or the exit of the arena section. That's where you get quite a few as well.
Oh, that one is such a tricky corner. You've got to make sure that your line is perfect, very, very sharp all the way. And there's this natural tendency to run slightly wide on the outside. You've got to avoid that urge. With some cars, it's easier than the others. Again, McLaren, very sharp on turn in. Same can be said about Porsche. With the BMW, though, what car last? Well, that car is just not, has been moving quite clearly.
It's a big boy. Oscar Mangan, final corner of the racetrack. One more lap to go after this in the session. GSR by ACV on pole position at the moment by 300 a second. Nope, cancel that. Make it 17 thousandths of a second as the 35 Core Sim Racing car jumps up onto the front row of the grid in the final 15 seconds of the session. But that pole position is looking pretty good by GSR. Core bail from it. Jamie Moon in the 77 jumps up a position on Fiercely Forward to get involved in the mix inside the top 5, just a 10th off of pole. Can Racebox do anything? Can Maniti Racing do something? This is a team that qualified in 3rd position in the previous part. That final corner did not look good though from the 78. What is it across the line? I don't think it's an improvement, and I think that is set for the Maniti Racing green car.
My word though, GSR, the ACV car, I think gets their 2nd pole position of the series. What can Marie Rushka pull out of the back for the fiercely forward IRS car? We know that McLaren can be very strong in qualifying. Has Marie got something special right there? Perhaps from both the Maniti cars. Not both, 3 of them in fact. 2 of them, sorry.
Well, 9th is not what they would have wanted. There could be some improvement. I'm not so sure it will be enough to challenge the pole position. Harushka, whilst has been plenty pacey, I don't think has had quite the pace of the McLaren that even Rebecca Pauline's had, the teammate. And so in that sense, there's a little bit wide through the final corner as well, so not the ideal line. We'll see what it is towards the line. I'm not feeling good about it, and that is why it is not a great lap time. 9th place, Rebecca Pauline, they will have a bit of work to do. No, we'll get the elbows out on that run down into turn 1. But GSR by ACV, 2nd pole position, I believe, of the season, alongside Core Sim Racing. It was looking good for RaceFox, pipped by the smallest margin twice.
How crazy is it? Can you actually look at the timing screen and maybe go to one of these teams? Let's assume that they haven't seen the timing screen. They clocked in that beautiful lap. You put an arm on the shoulder and say, mate, I don't think you're on pole position, and tell them that's the gap. Outstanding stuff. I just love how with every single round, Lewis, the series just keeps on getting better. These sort of qualifying gaps were alien in the first couple of rounds, and look at how they are right now.
I mean, I think quite a lot of us have been in one of those races where like 28 drivers are separated by a second or something, and you kind of think, how do you get to the? I mean, to be fair, I mean, I can't remember what I was watching one of these races like the DWC back in the day at Interlagos, and seeing all of the drivers separated by half a second, some tight margins, and we get them here at the front as well. Let's take a look at the starting order for the final race of the season. GSR by ACV on pole position, looking for their first win of the season, ahead of Core Sim Racing, victorious in the previous race of the afternoon in that 35 car. Lucas Gabler for Team RaceSpot Sim Racing will be starting from third and will eye up gaining a couple of positions as they did in the previous race, and Core Sim Racing alongside them looking to sort the championship out. Fifth place goes to Jamie Moon in the Sim RC car. The 77 will go on the attack in the early stages, with Fiercely Forward alongside them inside the top six. Maniti Racing Black, Maniti Racing Green lock out row 4. Fiercely Forward IRS will hand over to Rebecca Pauline, who will need to go on the attack in the early stages alongside fellow McLaren Alcantech NHR on the 5th row of the grid. Atotech Sim Sports Volante and Kairos Competition make it B&Ws on the 6th and penultimate row of the grid. Last position, unfortunately, will go the way of Maniti Racing White, struggling a little bit in the second qualifying, but still showing great improvements over the season, and hopefully they can do so once more in the race as well. You know it's coming your way. Who are you cursing?
Ah, come on. Okay, I'm gonna go for the reverse one. I just hope that RaceFox have a bad one. I hope that German Sim Racing have a bad one. Again, it's a reverse curse. I hope they have a good one, is what I mean to say. Wait, have I jinxed it? Have I not?
You've done the double jinx, mate. You've gone backwards and forwards. Who knows? I am holding onto my desk. It is made of wood, and we are going to hope. I'm going for GSR. I think it will just be GSR by ACV. I think it'll be the third race win for the outfit and the first race win for the ACV. Although my heart is sat there looking at RaceFox. I'm thinking, come on, you've got to step it up this race. Come on.
The best chance that they have to get a race win, but at the same time, they've got to pass one core car and also got to contend with the second core car that's right beside them. It's a hard ask. Just ask SimRC about how challenging that can be. But SimRC are right in the background trying to prove that, well, it's not that hard. So let's give it a shot then for one last time. I cannot wait for this.
Well, in championship contention, we'll speak very quickly of the 34 Core Sim Racing. Pascal Sticks behind the wheel from 4th spot. He'll be just ahead of the 77 of Lucas De Vries. The title race comes to an end here. The Virtual Racing School's Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge, the 12th and final race of the season. 1 hour on the clock. We are underway. Maniti instantly on the attack, and check out Volante as well on the left-hand side as Rebecca Pauline's going for it. RaceFox defending a little bit from the Sim RC 77, who nearly take a little bit of a blow on the right-hand side from Fiercely Forward. Tight down into turn 1, big lock up from the 35, but it is able to make this one stick and hit the front of the field. Maxime Ramstein around the outside of the first corner into the lead of the race. RaceFox trying to attack Core as Fiercely Forward throw that one into the final part of the arena section and nearly grab RaceFox as well.
Wow, that was a heavyweight sponge by Fiercely Forward, getting 2 positions. They've also got RaceFox as they head into the hairpin, by the way. Can they just get that better exit? Unlikely, to be honest, with the outside line, but that turns into this, the inside line. My word, Lewis, the Bumblebees are stinging hard at the beginning.
And SimRC have bought a one-way ticket, it seems, to the back of the grid right now as they are dropping down the order. Down to 7th spot at the moment. It's a little bit too wide. There was RaceFox as they just kicked up a little bit onto the back straight, and Maniti Racing in that 78 gained the position, and we ride on board with SimRC and Lucas de Vries diving it to the inside, trying to throw it in a little bit too deep from a couple of cars, including that Maniti Racing one. Might well get a slowdown penalty as they're running side by side off of the final corner with Fiercely Forward in there as well. RaceFox, SimRC, this is all allowing the top three to pull away as two core sim racing cars are going to battle it out for GSR with the race victory in mind. Let's see what they do down into turn one. The gap's already 2 seconds, this group ahead, but this fantastic fight for fourth is going to continue. Maniti are diving it. RaceFox are senior sending it to the outside. That one's not going to work, and SimRC are back a part of it.
Exactly, so the outside line is going to be the place to be for Maniti and SimRC. Reason being, it cuts back in and becomes the better line. The line with the better run down to the next corner. There's a push, there's a shove from Maniti Racing. That is the kind of racing you want to see.
So tight, and RaceFox as well there, fiercely forward side by side into the hairpin, switching sides on the Grand Prix layout as they'll try and fight their way through. We were riding on board with SimRC there, and look at the issue they're having as Rebecca Pauline does not fancy 8th place for a second longer, and will try and get past the 77 car and make further progress. Just look at the gap that's being built. The 35 is checking out for the second time this evening. GSR are doing well to hold on against the 34 car. No way through at the moment. Again, diving. Everyone's diving. Everyone's trying to find their way through. There's a little bit of a brush between the fiercely forward 53 and 77 as well with SimRC. Rebecca Pauline. Somehow they've all come through all of this and no one's gained a spot.
Exactly. And there's so much yellow in the mid-pack. The minions would be glad, and they know which team they have to support. And this fight right now, the battle of the Bumblebees, the fiercely forward SimRC and the IRS team, well, they will be in for a hard fight. Well, at the top though, Maxime Ramstein, confident as ever, Lewis. Another fastest lap to their name. What have they had for lunch, the 35? Any idea?
Well, I mean, it would be the trend at this point in the season. It is one of those kind of important things to note that the last two race events that we've had have been won by the same team. And that one being, oh sorry, that's actually not true. Oh no, it is, because at Monza it was core in both of them, wasn't it? And
yep.
Last round of course was GSR by Hetzner, so that is true. In the second half of the season, that has been the trend. It does seem, obviously very, very early, we're only like 4 minutes into the race, but at the speed they checked out in the last race and the speed they're checking out in this one, I'd be hard-pressed to see anyone right now other than Corset Racing, the number 35, winning this one. They are so fast and bulletproof in consistency.
Yeah, let's actually watch if anyone can actually take the fight to them. If anything, German sim racing have a realistic chance, the ACV car, I mean to say, to get their best result of the year. But can they make it that little bit better? Can they bring that extra level of intensity to this fight? It's all possible. We have seen them be quite good, but to the level of what the 35 are being right now, they're just dominant like no one has been so far this year in terms of just one race pace.
They've just, I don't know if they've just come to the fore a little bit too late, but it is fantastic. Look at this dive from SimRC. They are going to make this position stick on 53, but I think that might be a little bit too deep, and the cutback is going to be in effect. It's not going to work as we've got black and yellow versus black and yellow here in the mid-pack, and SimRC, they need to gain positions if they want the championship, but let's be honest, right now you can almost scratch it off the list as the 34 is in control on the championship front. They looked as if they were in control coming into this, but this even more so as they are gapping very clearly the SimRC car in position. It just, no disrespect to Lucas de Vries, I know how intense that is in the mid-pack. It is crazy. A couple of wrong decisions though, and it was going backwards. Has managed to recover and get back up to speed a little bit now, and is now eyes forward with a decent gap, but still for de Vries, unfortunately just being dropped back into it. And now they need to approach it from a more strategical point of view of thinking, do we switch early, do we switch late, when do we do it to basically give as much clean air to Jamie Moon as possible.
Yet again, though, the best moment to make your moves is early on, because everyone is bunched up. Oh no! This could be the championship slipping away in one corner cut.
That's it. It's sorted as far as I'm concerned, unless something bad, really bad happens to Core, and even then I'm not so sure. That is as near as makes no difference done. I don't mean to be a pessimist, but over the chicane, making a mistake like that, you just got ahead as the two fiercely forward cars are battling it out. Fiercely forward standard versus fiercely forward IRS, Porsche versus McLaren. Speaking of Porsche versus McLaren, it's a Core Sim Racing 1-2 as the 34 has got to the inside and has taken over second place from GSR by ACV.
Bloody hell, that's a way to win a championship with both of your cars in a dominant 1-2. That is a sign of assertion and dominance, if there ever was one, from Core Sim Racing. But I'm glad to say that when the Core Sim Racing cars go up against German Sim Racing, it isn't done until the final minute. Just take a look at what happened the last time out we went racing in the Sports Car Open. So keep a keen eye on this one. There could be more fun stuff coming in. If not at the very top of the field, at least you know that there's always something to watch out for with the Maniti car behind and then the comeback from SimRC behind them.
Wow, this is looking very good for Core, shall we say. Whether there will be a podium up for grabs from GSR, we'll have to wait and see, because let's be honest, Maniti Racing Green are closing in and they'd be desperate for a podium. As would Racefox, they want to continue on their trend, as would everyone behind. Let's be honest, it's a stupid point. Everyone wants a podium, everyone wants a race win. Who is going to grab it though? At the moment, the 35's in control at the lead of the race right now, but that can switch over on a dime, especially around this kind of circuit where a mistake's so easy to make, taking too much speed into any corner. Very, very easy to do. A lot of these corners are very hard to judge as Kairos Competition and Aztec Simsports Volante battle it out over the final position, the wooden spoon, and they are going side by side through the arena section, and Kairos Competition are going to potentially grab this spot. It's got to be around the outside of the final part, and then the inside for that next bit, and boom, they have the position. Running very, very wide though on exit, and Volante are back down into last.
Ah, well, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I think Volante are going to fight up again. And seriously, with Kairos and Volante, it's just all about fun. They're going to trade some punches. They're going to try and try very hard to make sure that the other one looks less competent. But again, that's what it's all about, right? The world of sim racing. Just keep on trying until you get a really good one, which is what SimRC have to do right now. But they're up against a formidably improved organization in Alcatec NHR. And let's not forget, right, when the series began, Alcatec NHR were barely, what, I think 6-8 odd months old. This improvement has been stunning, but is it enough to fight SimRC? Seemingly this move shows that it isn't right now.
I mean, SimRC are out of position, so the teams they're coming up across, they should be able to pass fairly easily, but easily is up for debate, as that one is not sorted, and even then so, they might well lose out to Maniti, as they're going to go around the outside, back to the inside at turn one, as SimRC send that one in, so close to contact with Alcatec NHR. Now got to do the legwork around the outside of the arena section, and if you try and drop back in line now, you're certainly losing the position to that Maniti car. It's all about going full send on the brakes. They are trying to dive it back inside of the Alcatec NHR car and get back into line to defend more so from the Maniti Racing car, which we know that 79, the Maniti Racing black car, has done quite well. It did well in the last race.
Exactly, they did. So there's a ton of potential underneath that car right now. But again, the same question, can they really stamp on their potential by passing the championship contenders in SimRC 77? Well, let's not say championship contenders anymore, because it's more or less done. But still, let's say the championship, can't say it like this, right? Again, the closest team there is to fight for the championship. Simple.
Yeah. Championship-wise, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, it's it's sorted right now. And, you know, I've enjoyed the title fight all the way through, and it's not over until it's over. I mean, 2008 Formula 1 Interlagos, so who knows? I mean, is that rain? Can we get rain in the race right now? Can we just get it? I know it's not at all ready, but let's just do it anyway. Let's just spice it up for no reason. As Fiercely Forward IRS and Fiercely Forward Regular battle it out once more, and IRS now ahead of the. I don't know what else to call it. It's a little bit like, what do I call them? They're the ones without anything else. I can't. Fiercely Forward and Fiercely Forward IRS. Fiercely Forward Regular. Just going with it.
How about salted? Because that's what you call the regular popcorn, don't you? So. Fiercely Forward salted? No, I don't think you can say that. Whatever.
No. It makes them sound like they're constantly angry.
Well, they would be. I mean, sometimes luck hasn't gone their way, so they would be justified. Again, after the first race, they would be, but if you can channel it at the right place, why not? And if this race was as long as a couple of months, maybe we could have the rain coming in while this race still goes on, because, of course, iRacing has said that could be on its way. Oh, it gets me all excited with the thought of it.
Well, I think we're going to be seeing battling all the way through the next 48 minutes as everyone's trying to, well, for one, grab some more broadcast time. Right now, as Alcantec and HR are appearing to have a little bit of a train here for 8th position, as joining the end of the battle, the trio of BMWs just behind Kairos Competition, Maniti Racing White, and, of course, Aztec Simsport Volante, all joining in on this train. It may well be, in a sense, the train from 8th to last. But in this race, I would. I mean, you'd be disappointed if you finished last. Of course you would. But at least in a field like this, if you finished last, you'd at least be like, well, at least it was close, right?
Yeah.
You know, at least you're in the train for something more. So Kairos Competition looking out. Maniti Racing, though, 79, committing to the inside potentially of SimRC. No way through on the Alcantec NHR car, which seems plenty pokey in a straight line, and it's just enough to keep everyone at bay as Forsdijk, De Vries, Wenzel, just no way through right now.
Well, do you remember what happened, I think, only a couple of rounds ago, right? It's all so crazy at Monza, I remember, where the battle for P3 was so intense it lasted all the way from 3rd to almost the last place. Alcantec were involved in that one, and they could have led that one. Unfortunately, an incident at the chicane sort of killed the aspirations for that. This one, I think they can actually lead to the end, you know, because SimRC they've been there, but they've just not got that spark for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, no disrespect to the 77, but they've just not seemed to capture the pace so much as, speaking of Maniti, by the way, I don't know if it was a slowdown from Lesser Mulman, but Wunsch has got past the GSR by ACV car and is now up onto the podium in the 78. We'll catch up with that in a moment whilst we watch this thrilling battle down the grid. Let's take a look. It's just a simple dive from Wunsch. Was close enough, fired it into NGK, and it was not fought by GSR. Smart not to fight it right now. Just get back into line, get back into slipstream, and focus on a little bit later in the race and returning fire at some point as this train once again continues a bit of a gap between Forsdijk and De Vries. No move happening down into turn 1. Not quite yet, not quite good enough on the brakes as we remain single file.
Interesting, but that's not going to be happening for too long right here, as has been the story of the entire Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge Series. Single file? Yeah, only for a few minutes here and there. Mostly, it's all about that door-to-door action and trading paints with each other. And no reference to that software again. They're quite good at what they do. Maniti trying, and could we potentially see one move around the outside at this happen? I really would love to see that, because that would just need a tremendous drive off, and if there's any car that can do it, it has to be a McLaren, and I see one, but that's on the top of this field.
I mean, the outside line, I mean, through there, look, every corner's an overtaking opportunity, but you kind of need to wait a little bit into the race. Once the tyres start going, then you can start going on the attack potentially. You've got to wait a little bit longer for that right moment. So, you know, right now, not so much. Right now, or speaking of which, Lesser Mulman has lost quite a bit of time. That one might be a slowdown because Crosley has also got through for RaceSpot. Kairos, though, to the inside, coming into the final corner, trying to get it done on Maniti Racing, the black car. That one, I think, might work out in favour of the BMW with the straight line speed, but the slipstream working in favour of the 79. But inside line through the final corner, I think Kairos might be picking up a position here on Maniti. So close to contact into that braking zone as the track just eats away on the right-hand side. There we go. It's so tight between them. And now got to make it stick around the outside of the arena section. Is this one going to work? You've got to make it stick. It feels like such a long and lethargic way round. I don't think it's going to work out this time for Kairos. Oh, that's close.
Oh, it does not. And both the BMWs almost came together. Then, of course, they eventually have the rear end sort of snapping off a little bit. And again, will we see Maniti fight over here? Not so much. And this is a risky corner to do this, Lewis. Eventually, they're building up to something at the chicane. Not at that first sector, but at the NGK chicane that's going to come up. So this is their best chance, but they have to remember, the McLaren on a straight is an absolute bullet.
Oh, here we go, though. This has all begun from a little bit of a slide from Forsdyke going into that hairpin and just not getting off of it well enough. And now this is Lucas de Vries's best chance to get through inside of NGK. Absolutely no room given. Potentially door open for Niti as well. And just a little bit of a hip check through the chicane. And SimRC have already bolted from the group as the BMWs are going to go 3 wide into the final corner. Kairos hanging on. Volante gaining the position on Maniti Racing White and dropping down a place. A shame for the BMWs. They weren't able to get involved in the mix just ahead of this, but still, it's still early days in that form as they'll be side by side down into turn 1. Aztec Volante will be to the inside and should hold the 12th position, and Nopefel down to 13th.
And it calms down for a grand total of 3 corners.
Yeah.
Because once this arena section is finished, we get to see Maniti trying a move on Alcantech again. I just love the sprint layout. People hate it for no reason. It's probably because they haven't driven on it much. It's just action everywhere all the time. We're only getting rid of one amazing hairpin, but instead we get another amazing hairpin.
Yeah, we're a little bit deep there from Alcantech and HR. The sprint layout, in my opinion, is fine. The only layout change, if you were to run like the Grand Prix version, the only layout change which is absolutely unacceptable. No, the last chicane, I'm not. I don't hate the last chicane as it is. I'd rather the fast one, but I don't hate it as it is. It's on the when we run like the endurance, when we do 24 hours and all turn 1 and 2, when you go like right and then left immediately, unacceptable. Worst corner. Yeah. To be honest, it's an awful corner. It's a villain that needs to exist because obviously they use that part of the paddock. What is the arena section as De Vries, is that a slowdown again? I think it's a slowdown again. They've cleared from the group. They're back in it once more. They're just desperate to fight. They're just desperate to be a part of the race. And certainly so, they drop back into it as Kairos gain 1 position, gain 2 positions potentially around the outside of T1. Not quite going to work as they're just muddled out there from Maniti, and SimRC keep the position on Volante. A bit of a shame there, but SimRC once again back in this fight, and they'll be thinking, oh God, here we go again.
Here we go again, literally. It could have been theirs, and then it wasn't, and now, of course, it probably reminds me a lot of Nico Rosberg's fight at the 2014 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where your main championship rival is up ahead, just dominating, or at least partially dominating, and there you are, stuck in the midfield, dropping down, knowing that there's not much you can do apart from what you're already doing. Could this be a race of 2 halves, unfortunately? It seems like maybe... Well, Lucas de Vries is just not having the best of days, and that happens, right? It's normal, it's only human.
I mean, he'll know, like, if the second he got that slowdown, he'll think, and probably says things that I can't say on this broadcast right now, that are certainly not family friendly. That is a dive from Kairos, and SimRC are back a part of it. Are they going to try and make it 3 wide down into the final corner? They are going to pick up on Maniti as Kairos Winbo gains that position. Fantastic display there. Bit of a dive and just like I say, just almost sitting in the middle of the road at the right point. Might also try and grab Forsdyke down into T1 as well, because they're right on the rear end of that McLaren and the big big bulky BMW as we go a little bit all over the place with our positions. Defence from Maniti, attack from SimRC, attack from Volante as well, as they're close to making a little bit of contact on the rear end of the 79. Maniti racing black car again, still side by side. Being run out was Maniti there from SimRC in the background, as at the head of the field did see that Wimbo gained that one. Forsdyke straight back through, SimRC through on Maniti as well. It's constant changes, constant switches, and pushing Maniti through as well is the Aztec Simsports Volante car as they're trying to make it 2-3-1. Oh, see your Alcantech NHR. That's a bit of a shame. Wimbo assisted, and unfortunately down the road is Forsdyke.
So, are you telling me that the song See You Again wasn't playing while that incident took place? No. Oh man, come on. That's another big Alcantech NHR result snatched from them. What will it take for them to just actually stay at the head of a queue without anything happening to them? Not them causing it, but... Oh man, let's take a replay of that. Boop.
I think there might have been the original version of CeeLo Green's Forget You playing. To be perfectly honest, because that was not great. Oh, I think there's been a slowdown penalty as well, delivered to Wimbo, and drops down to the rear of the field. No, I think it's actually, this is like velodrome racing. They're just you're sat at the front of the group, and then you just go up the banking and you come back down, then you're at the back, and then you let everyone else do the slipstreaming and stuff. That's how it works. That's what we're watching right now, because as soon as anyone's at the front, they start to clear away, and then they're instantly at the back of the group because they've exceeded through the final chicane as Forsdyke comes straight to the pit lane. Unfortunately for them, that will be a couple of minutes too early to be inside the pit window, so they can't even fix the damage. There's a lot of damage on the car, to be fair, but they can't even fix that in the pit window, so it's double pain.
Well, are you sure we're right here at the Nürburgring sprint striker, not the slowdown striker? Because that's what it seems like to me right now. What has it been? 8, 9 of them? Which team hasn't got a slowdown is one I can not think of. Maybe Cole, perhaps, not German Sim Racing, I haven't quite seen, or Racefox. And guess who's at the top?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, with slowdowns, it's easy to get around here. They are so easy to pick up through that chicane, because to be fast, you have to abuse the chicane.
Yeah.
Every time you abuse the chicane, you are playing with fire. You are risking the iRacing gods to just jump in and be like, yeah, by the way, it's a slowdown penalty. You think, for goodness sake. And there's nothing you do. As soon as you do it, obviously you've got to serve it basically straight away. And that's why we see it, when you do it, when you're in a tight fight like this. I mean, even this, still with a couple of cars out of it, it's still a 5-car train. It's still a tight fight, and you get a slowdown penalty here, you do drop to the end of the pack. There's no doubt about it. You can't just sit in the middle of the road and be like, oh, well, I'll serve it in the middle of the road, because then they won't get around. And they'll still get around you, mate.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just been like that all the time, and it's outstanding that the queues have been like that every single time. But again, slowdowns really change things so much. But as you rightly mentioned, you've got to abuse the corner, you've got to go all out, and if you don't do that, you're losing so much time. So it's worth taking the risk eventually, but sometimes it just backfires. And honestly, I have a bit of a funny confession to make. I've never really served a slowdown penalty, even though I've got done of them. I just haven't had to.
Are you taking a hit on yourself at your own speed there?
I mean, it's not a hit, it's just plain facts. I mean, every time I drive and get a slowdown penalty, I don't even have to lift up the throttle. iRacing is like, yeah, cool, man, you're serving it. Good job. Nice. Good discipline.
I'm not going to comment on that. I feel bad.
It is what it is.
I always have to serve slowdown penalties because I'm constantly getting them, because I just abuse the track limits. This is the joys of being a touring car racer. Just constantly track limit excursions. Pit windows open, by the way, in the very last one of the season. And by the way, if we want to talk about things a little bit further up the field, as into the pit lane comes Lucas de Vries for SimRC. Thought that one might come in nice and early. Get de Vries out of the car, get Jamie Moon into it, and get some lovely clean air. But take a look at the battle for second, as Wunsch is right on the rear end of Pascal sticks for second place. Maniti Racing Green are here. They, like you say, they've been figuring it out throughout the season, and now they're starting to challenge the team, which is the champion-elect.
It's outstanding. It's outstanding how much they've grown in this but over the course of the last couple of months. And you love to see it, right? At the start of the year, we thought there was a bit of a status quo. We thought it was simracing, maybe here or there, German sim racing car, and perhaps Seriously Forward on their day. But Maniti, there was no inkling that Maniti would be this close. But as we always mention, Maniti in other championships have always been near the podium. It was just a matter of time. And that time, I think, Lewis, I'm checking the watch, I think it's here.
Time is now. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Maniti to get on with it. I mean, on this pace, obviously, I would expect there would be a response from Core. Yeah. But on the pace from Maniti at the moment, if they were to get through right now and were to lap, they were lapping half a second faster than Maxime Ramstein at the front of the field.
Yeah.
Wunsch is flying right now, absolutely flying.
And now he's taking the fight to the champion-elect. Again, I have to say it twice to make sure that it actually feels true. And let's take a look at the gap to all the cars behind. RaceFox are way back, Lewis. And even RaceFox aren't quite closing at an alarming rate. This is just tremendous. All the year round, we haven't quite put the focus on Maniti, but this is just outstanding. And what about the other cars? I think closer than ever to the rest of the grid as well.
Also, once again, whilst we're in the pit stop window, might as well give another throw out once again. Giveaway.sportscaropen.com. It is the final chance, the last giveaway, the Lego Technic Porsche 911 RSR. One more of them to give out, and of course, the giveaway for our season-long prize, VRS Direct Force Pro wheelbase, also to be handed out. So we need to sort that one out. Go to giveaway.sportscaropen.com and enter there. As into the pit lane comes Core. Maniti with a nice bit of clean air. I'm sure they're going to try and set the world alight for the next 7 minutes of this race. There's a few laps to try and make something stick here, and hey, they may well jump Core just by staying out and lapping at this speed.
I want to see that happen. I will have to pinch myself at the end of it, but it could be true. Considering how they've upped their pace, it could very well be true. I think even this pack, Lewis, have recognized that there's no point in going side by side constantly if they want to gain a couple of positions here and there. So this period of peace and calm could ultimately benefit all 4 of these cars in the long run, but I don't think Kairos competition like peace and calm, do they? Just constantly taking the alternative line.
I mean, to be fair, at least they're, I mean, I've seen this from, if you, well, unfortunately not anymore, but if you were to look at Alcantec and HR when they were defending and watch them through the hairpin, every single time was running about half a car width away from the white line. And the reason why, see, actually there, you can see it there from Maniti. Okay, that was a hilariously bad time. I'm so sorry to Maniti. I was about to give them plaudits because they were running wide to leave the door open, so they were going to come back and get a straighter exit. But that is so.
Is there anything like a pre-curse? A curse before you cursed?
I'm so sorry. That is so unfortunate. Such an easy thing to do. I mean, for Kairos, they're going for a gap which was always going to close, but it was a gap that was open. So, you know, read into that what you will. Oh, that might be a slowdown, though.
Again, yeah, Kairos have had a... Yeah, just right on the edge, and now there's that slowdown again. Or maybe we could say they're going for attack mode in Formula E terms.
Yeah, no. No, I'm not going to start that because we won't go into it, don't worry, because I destroyed my reputation. Lack thereof, but I would destroy it anyway. Into the pit lane, Aztec Volante into it for the... Again, these are the last stops of the season. This is the last driver switch of the season. And this is the last laps then for these drivers for the entire season. This is their season coming to a close as Michael Janney going to try and get by the GSR by ACV car. Fantastic move down in the final corner. Maybe going to try and make this one stick, but we know that outside line is very good, especially in the hands of a McLaren, and that is why GSR are able to hang on.
Yeah, exactly. Are Fiercely Forward able to take the fight in the corners, though? Because that is usually where the Porsche has an advantage. And, well, you can float like a butterfly in the corners, and that car can sting like a bee, like the colors it has. So, watch out for that one. Maybe the bee stings the eagle.
That was a smooth one, mate. That was very, very smooth.
Thank you.
It's not
that. Will it be as smooth?
I mean, we'll see when that move happens. Obviously, it's very hard to pass a McLaren around here. Just in the sense that their straight line speed, their kickoff. Obviously, you know the best overtaking opportunity is down into the first corner, but the kickoff from the McLarens is so good. Race leader into the pit lane. Goodbye, Maxime Ramstein. You are done for the season. Hello again, Thomas Gibson. Get back in there, get back to it, and let's see if you can lock down the victories here at the Nürburgring Sprint Strecke and take another one this evening. Launching from pit lane, the 35 will return to the race circuit and will be ahead, I believe, the 34. It might be a little bit tight, but it shouldn't be. So it should be all well and good by the time they've left pit lane. Should be about, I think it's about 2.5, 3 seconds between them, and at least to my fairly untrained eye, seems as though it's sort of in the gap that it was before pit lane. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. More or less the same. Let's see if the clean air has had an impact on, somebody on a really big margin. I doubt. Largely, strategy has been all about finding that clean air, right? And in a way, it's good. It creates a different sort of racing. So all the time, you're not worried about your tires, unless you're in a McLaren, is what I mean to say. But mostly, it's just about the driving of it, and that is why the racing has been so good. The focus has been on the driver.
See what the defence is going to be like from GSR as RaceFox are into the pit lane. Anyone staying out now, which is no surprise to see Maniti Racing Green staying out for one more lap. They will all need to come in at the end of this lap because the pit window will close in 2 minutes, which for anyone that can count, 120 seconds. You couldn't get 290s into it. It doesn't divide, doesn't go in there cleanly, so you need to come into the pit lane this time by. These though have already pitted, this one being Fiercely Forward and GSR bowing out. GSR have not had the race they wanted, let's be real here. They've not had it. They did drop behind Fiercely Forward IRS before the pit lane sequence, and I wonder if that is going to be locked down post pit lane sequence.
Yeah, exactly. Let's watch out. Home race again for German Sim Racing, and there is nearly a good move from Fiercely Forward. And it's that same situation again. Lining up a move, taking your time with it, and then striking at that right moment. But that right moment hasn't quite come yet for Fiercely Forward. So this battle could go on for a few more laps as the Fiercely Forward car just gathers steam and gathers momentum. It's like watching a coal train in action. It takes time to warm up, and then poof, instantly there's a ton of speed.
Wonder if so Maniti Racing Green, they'll be on the pit lane side. They'll be darting in about 30 seconds time, as they'll be, I believe, coming up towards the final chicane. Oh no, they are coming into pit lane. That's the alarm going off. Can hear that one, and they have dived down, same as Fiercely Forward IRS, into the pit lane. Final pit stops for them, and what a stint that was. Absolutely fantastic from Luca Wunsch. Again, another one of those rises up the grid. Same with Fiercely Forward IRS. 8th position for Maniti Racing Green, up to, I'm not going to say lead the race, but up to 3rd to a potential 2nd as well, and a challenge on it. So again, fantastic stint as this battle continues to rage on. We'll find out what position it'll be for in not very long. I'm pretty sure it'll be for about 5th place. 6th. What do we go with 6th?
6, yeah. Net 6, basically.
Net 6,
yeah, that's what it could come down to later on. And there is GSR making a. What? Oh no! It's that slowdown again.
So easily done. Maniti Racing Green, by the way, have come out of pit lane, and as I was wondering, Maniti Racing Green have come out ahead of course Sim Racing's 34 car, Oscar Mangan, now has to try and make a move on McMinch. That is absolutely sensational from the 78. Now, I kind of feel a little bit for Liam here. Like, go on, off you go, try and match your teammate's pace. I'm sure he's got some in the tank. But still, the rate they've been catching, I mean, it's not impossible. There's only 2 seconds to the leader.
I don't know if I should put my hopes.
No, I know. I'm a little bit. I don't want to curse them. They're doing so well.
I think let's just. Oh my God, this is a very tricky position to be. Let's just watch, man, because Moniti have been so good, and they've been pleasantly surprising so far. Right now, it seems like Core is closing up, perhaps courtesy of the slipstream, but there is a chance. And deep down, you want to see it happen. Core have won. I wouldn't say Core have won enough, or Core have won their fair share, because always you want more, but still, it will be such a pleasant surprise to see Moniti on the top step of that podium, or the virtual podium. Oh, actually, brings up a good question. Do you think iRacing should actually include podium graphics with the driver of your choice, the way you've designed it with your suit being able to come up there, something like that? Or will it be too much?
Might be a little bit too much. I think there needs to be something though. I'm not. This is where like it's kind of like. You know, I don't know how you would do it and like that sense, but I feel there needs to be something for winning rather than just seeing your name at the top of a results sheet. I mean, this is obviously me being a bit nerdy myself, but and prepare yourself, boring alert. But every time I've won a race in what I would classify as competitive sim racing, so I you know, like a competition, like a league race competition. Every time I've won a race, every single time, because we don't get trophies and stuff in sim racing, I've edited a photograph of that car in that race. So I have like my own album, which is like, yes, it's sad, I don't care though. But I've got my own, like, so I can go through and I can be like, oh, that's when I won that race. And that's when it's not a very big album. It wouldn't be great if it was Josh and it's like, right, okay, here's my 3,000 race wins. Like, oh, they're special now. But you know, it's still, it's like, that's like the trophy. So what I'm saying here is that for race wins and stuff, maybe, I mean, it might be a little bit gimmicky, but let's be honest. If there was like a you know, podium celebration type thing like that, whilst it is gimmicky, as long as there's a skip button or whatever, then whoever doesn't really care, they can just skip it and move on. And the people that it means something to, it means that a little bit more. I don't really know how to put it, you know?
It'll be awesome. I mean, well, let's say someday, 10, 20, maybe 30, 40 years down the line, where you show it to your children or grandchildren, like,
my sim racing photographs.
Yeah, exactly. This is when I won a TCR race at Alton Park.
This is my first ever win was in a Clio at a track that almost no one's heard of. I wonder if anyone has heard of it. It's called Ginger Man.
What?
It's a genuine racetrack. It's a club track in the United States.
Is it in Ireland?
No.
No. Well, me. I would have thought otherwise.
I don't even know what state it's in. I just know that it's somewhere in America. It was a track built. I can't remember who it was actually built by, but it was sold by United Racing.
Perhaps.
It is owned by a Ginger Man, yes. And that is a genuine fact, of course, is why it's called Ginger Man. To be honest, actually quite a decent track, but no one knows that track. So there you go. There's a bit of juicy knowledge for you. Go and look up a track you never heard of.
It's actually in Michigan, and the layout is not that bad.
It's a good track. It's a good track. Yeah. It's hard work. It's a proper club track.
Can you imagine, right? Maybe if we have iRacing scan Cadwell Park, and next year we have GT4 cars going to Cadwell Park and Sports Car Open. I know we're not going to see lots of passes, yes, but just the onboards.
Cadwell Park is fantastic. Obviously, I'm very looking. I'm looking forward a lot to the recently announced both Sandown and Winton. Love me some Sandown. Absolutely love me some Sandown. What a track. That is a track. So Winton, we were discussing this. Winton's a track that I think won't, it's one that I don't think that many people will actually enjoy, because Winton is a hard track. But Sandown is a track that you can race in anything, and it's brilliant.
No, and I've got to give it a shot. I haven't quite touched my sim for a while, but if I have to for one thing, Sandown. Seriously, I tried it on a Seto. Oh, can I say that? No, on another sim. In alternate reality. Fun. Great degree of fun. It's just flying through all the comments. It's just a great degree of fun, that.
Good effort, though.
I had to try hard. By the way, we've actually got someone who knows that circuit, Lewis. Jake Besema. He actually is a native of Michigan. He says it's my local track there.
There we go. My first ever win in sim racing was on that track, on your local track. There we go. What a claim to fame. It is good fun, though. It's great fun. It's got undulation, everything. It's like got hills and stuff. It's got commitment. It's got blind curves, like slight backs. It's actually really enjoyable. Some people, I'm sure, will hate it, but I like it. Oscar Mangan, though, focusing on the race and task at hand, whilst the Maniti Racing Green Cars losing sight of race victory, still hanging on to the runner-up spot.
Yeah, and it could happen. I love that Maniti have still blocked off every single line possible. You just watch all their onboards over the course of the last 5-6 odd minutes, and you know they are playing it smart. No need to unnecessarily try something different or something a bit too unusual. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what has got you there. And I love the fact, Lewis, that it's not just Luca Wunsch's pace that was so good. Liam McNinch is also maintaining it. So this building, in a way, is not lopsided. It's all properly balanced out in a way.
Yeah, their pace is spot on. Unfortunately for them, it's just that Gibson jumping in behind the course in racing. Obviously, I don't know if it was Ramstein just cruising a little bit towards the end of the stints, or maybe burning out the tyres in the early stages while clearing off from everyone else. Was dropping back, was running about half a second slower than what they're presently running. But as Gibson's jumped in, has just matched the pace of everyone behind and is just sort of consistently ticking them off. McNinch doing mid-32s, realistically, keeping the 34 at bay, but Oscar Mangan's a talented driver and knows how to apply pressure. He's literally sat there in the most annoying place, because at this point, when you're sat there, you're driving out of the corner, you're shifting up, you're just driving through the gears, but you've got a car so close that you can hear them, and it is a distraction. It's really hard work. This is close.
This is close indeed. Yeah, Mangan is lining it up for the exit of the stadium section. Again, good cutback right now. He'll be heading to the outside line, which will soon become the inside line, but I don't think he's close enough this time out generally. So again, that has to wait. And it's also not like the Cayman has a beautiful rear end. It's fine, it's good, but I've seen better Porsche rear end. So for Mangan, is a sense of urgency. Let's get past, but again, as a racing driver, of course, you've had far more experience than me. Is there ever a feeling like, yeah, the other person has not had as good of a championship, let them stay where they are? But I don't think that ever happens, no?
Actually, I think it does. I mean, I can't really speak for so many others. I can only speak from my own experience. But I have had it a few times where I've had a good run in the championship. I know that there's nothing more I can gain if I like, whether you're leading the championship or whether you're running in a position where you can't really gain that much more. If I know there's someone who's not had the greatest season or whatever, whilst obviously you fight them, but there's no desperation. It's like I'm just gonna let them do. I'll give it a few looks, but unless they make a mistake, I'm not actually going for anything. I've had that a few times where it's just sort of like you're not giving them a position because you're making them work for it. If they slow down, if they make a mistake, if they get a slowdown, I'm not going to pull over and be like, oh no, you can keep it. Like no, but as long as you don't do anything wrong, like just race. I'm not sure if that's what Oscar Mangan's going to do. It's a bit hard to do when you're doing it when you've got two drivers in the team. But I'd say that stuff does happen.
Interesting. That seemingly isn't on the core sim racing agenda right now, because.
But if it wasn't, he would have dived at turn 1 there. So maybe there is a little bit of it. Like not much, but a little bit.
I mean, we know there's a little bit always in the bag with the core sim racing team. When you think it's all over and done, they can just bring up that extra bit of pace all the time, and that's what's been their major factor that's brought them closer to the championship right now. But still, Maniti, you've got to give it to them. Got to give it to them for holding it on so well. Again, 14 and a half minutes almost left to go right now. has the Porsche got enough in the tank? So far, Core, of course, stellar performers. And as this happens, it's not like the 35 is pulling away by a lot either.
No, it's pulling away bit by bit, but nothing major, showing again how much Maniti have picked up through this season and how much they've learned round by round. And like I say, right now, trying to keep our championship leader and champion-elect at bay. The team that's had plenty of race wins this season. It's had plenty of podium finishes as well this season, although I will say their last podium was a little while ago. And by a little while ago, I mean it was a week ago. In the first race, they didn't get a podium in the second race, they didn't get a podium in the last race. So it's been a whopping 3 races since their last podium. But still, this isn't also the other thing as well. Now, this is a small thing. I don't know how other drivers value it as well. But there are certain positions that hold more value than others. For example, a win, the most important. Second or a third, I'm not really bothered. They're both a podium. You know, if I'm going for a championship, then obviously you want second for the most points. But second and third, they're both a podium. If I'm second, I'm happy. If I'm third, I'd say I'm probably equally as happy. Right? It's still a podium. And then again, fourth and fifth, not really bothered. It's still a top 5. Fourth, fifth. Fourth is actually a little bit more annoying because you're one step away from the podium. So, you know, you've got that. And then like 6th through 10th, I'm just like, they're all top 10s. I'm equally like, yeah, that was all right. And then anything below that, you're just like, well, yeah, I didn't do well enough, did I? And so, like, in that sense, like, in this battle, I'm sort of like, I'm not really bothered which way around it finishes. Like, if I was driving, I'd be like, well, as long as, you know, I'll fight for second, but from third, I'm still a podium, isn't it? Still get an interview.
You absolutely nailed it. That's genuinely what the racing driver psychology is always about. And in that sense, what can I say? It just doesn't make a difference, right? If you're 8, 9, 7, whatever it is, unless it's Formula 1, where I'm generally surprised sometimes. Right. I'm going to get to that point later on, because Co are actually not pretending. They are trying. This is incredible. Oscar Mangan. Yeah, they've got it.
Now, how hard to Maniti fight this one? Around the outside through the arena section, it's close again, but Oscar Mangan has made this one stick on McNinch, and that one is confirmed. It's back to being a course in racing 1-2. We have seen that for quite a long side of this race, and it did switch over. Maniti applying the pressure now, and will this one switch back around? Oscar Mangan's not normally the driver that would crumble to pressure. The podium's still on for Maniti, should there not be a mistake, but I'm sure they'll be sat there thinking, no, we're going to put one on the champs. Let's see what we can do over the last 12 minutes, not only of the race, but of the season as well.
Okay, then. This could be a very interesting period. We know Maniti won this more than Co does, right? I mean, it's fair. Co have had their fair share. But Maniti never on the podium so far this year. And again, this could be their one. Second would always be better than third. Again, for them it would matter. Not for Co as much, because of course they're eventually going to win the championship regardless of where they finish within the top 3. But yes, Maniti are going to try hard this time. I get a feeling, Lewis, they are actually going to go for a proper send in this one.
They've got to. They've got to go for one. Yeah, well, you'd be kidding yourself if you didn't at least go for it. Down into turn 1. Don't feel it's quite close enough from Maniti there to send one on Oscar Mangan, and that is exactly what happened. McNinch not able to attack, and a better drive off as well, the very first corner of the racetrack from Oscar Mangan. Builds a little bit more of a gap between Maniti and Core. Certainly not done yet. Obviously the slipstream will come into effect outside of this corner. We'll be pulling you along down to the hairpin, pulling you along down into the final chicane, pulling you along down into turn 1 as well, and any gap that's gone out to around about half a second will definitely come down over the next few corners as we rise and fall and rise again as the undulating nature of the Nürburgring.
An underappreciated circuit this is, genuinely, the sprint layout, and of course the GP1 as well. It's tremendous how we've gotten good racing everywhere, be it Zolder, be it Nürburgring, be it Catalonia as well, which normally people love to cancel out whenever Formula 1 does what it usually does and produces a dull race at a technical circuit. So
Barcelona is one that I kind of went into expecting it to be good. I mean, from the when you start turning right, because obviously we ran the fast penultimate corner, which obviously gives you that fast run through the final corner. Yeah. From the final right-hander, or the first right-hander when you start turning right, towards the end, it is a mile from that point all the way round to turn 1. It's a 1 kilometre long, I think it's 1 kilometre anyway, from memory. Yeah. Start-finish straight, alone. Big slipstream, these kind of cars, was expecting it to be a good race. Zolder was the one that I was like, this is going to be garbage. I went into it genuinely thinking it's going to be a terrible race. And then we got 3 wide out of the chicane, and I was like, okay, fair enough. You know, we've had some quality racing on the series, and yeah, it's just proof that you don't need 1,000 cars. You just need cars with respect.
Are you listening, Formula One? Please, please don't go for longer and heavier and fast and wider cars. That's not the recipe. Just look at GT4 racing. I think even GT3 normally these days has become a bit too big in the world of real world motorsport. I don't quite see any big intense action in DTMs, I'm sorry, where things are just too close. Maybe you just need smaller cars.
Oh, a little bit deep from Volante.
Very close.
All very scary. They're running a little bit wide there. Unfortunately, Maniti Racing White, by the way, for the last race of the season, they are running 25 seconds off of everyone else. Kairos also not having a good race now. Tech NHR out of the final race this season, just with 8 minutes left to go. And Core 35 back into cruise mode. You have to feel.
Yeah. As if they weren't. This has just been a class apart from Core, and I wonder what would they be speaking to each other. I think they're just enjoying what this circuit is all about, and generally you can't do that, right? With the Nürburgring being such a fun circuit, I don't think they're even thinking about anything else. Just go up there, send some hot laps in, enjoy your time. Maybe the last time in a while when they have to actually pick up the GT4 and go competitive racing, because I don't think there are any more serious GT4 championships coming around over the next month or two, per se.
The GT4 is not really a car that gets raced that much. It's raced in, I don't really want to say uncompetitive, because it's not really what I mean. Obviously, the fields are competitive, but it's just in the in the general iRacing stratosphere. You know, the GT4s are raced a fair amount, not hugely, but a fair amount across a couple of different series, but nothing that's like a proper series, a proper run championship, just the standard iRacing affair, which is fine. But when it comes to actual series racing, yes, a lot of these teams are inexperienced with this car, and that's why a lot of the teams have gone up and down throughout the championship, whether they've had experience in it before or whether they've just gelled with it straight away, or whether they've had to take time to build up into it. Other teams have adapted to it at different levels, and that's where, with having a car like this, sometimes it's important to dust it off and get racing in it, because I mean, there are plenty of cars in the service like that, where you just kind of like, it will literally just be sat there with no one racing it. Sometimes you just need to go, do you know what? We're going to give it a go. We're going to race it because it's fun. It's something different. It's something that you've not raced before. And that's when you, as a driver, if you're challenged, if you try a car that you've never driven before, try racing a car that you've never driven before, you might cross the line at the end of the season and think, do you know what? That was really good fun. I want to do that again.
Yeah, and we've done that. We struck when the iron was hot with the sports car open. Again, the moment we got the McLaren coming in, I think in a couple of weeks we saw that this series was announced. So at the right time, essentially. But I wanted to see this sustained effort in GT4s, right? We see a ton of it for all the other cars in the iRacing community. Maniti trying for something on Volante again at this time. Oh, there's a spin!
Oh,
no! Self-error! Oh, come on.
Now the cool kids would be slamming an F in chat, unfortunately. And now it's easy to do another slide. Yeah, you can see it a little bit too hot, just coming in a little bit too fast from Michael Diaz. And the rear end just biting. I have driven I did drive this BMW, by the way, at Oran Park. And I can tell you one thing: it is a hard car to drive. It is an absolute monster. It does step out quite a lot. It is quite tricky. Once you get used to it, it's fine. But if you do I mean, as it kind of would do, if you go too fast into a corner, the rear end lets go very, very quickly, as we can see there.
Again, the McLaren, the Porsche, they all look like good amateur cars to start off with before heading to GT3s, but trust me, these are way more challenging just to drive. Again, that's a different thing altogether. And SimRC looking to salvage something by passing German sim racing, and they get it done. Both the German teams trying hard to put up a show, and SimRC get that one position.
I don't want to be too harsh for SimRC because they've put on a great show throughout the season, and we obviously respect them for it. But today's been a little bit disappointing. The thing is,
the first to recognise.
Exactly, I was going to say, and like, I don't want to just like try and throw them under the bus, because if there is one, if there is anyone that understands that more than anyone else, it's them. Of course, coming into it, I didn't even think they were expecting to contend for the title, but I think they were expecting to win it, they just wanted to give a good run to Core, and they did. To be fair, they did, and the last race, race one of the evening, they certainly did give a good run to Core. I mean, they beat them. They beat their championship rivals. But this race, I'm not going to be harsh and throw anyone specific under the bus, because, I mean, De Vries has had his issues. I mean, the qualifying wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible. It's just, the race has just unfolded the way it's unfolded. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. But I think, despite this race being a little bit disappointing, I think they should still be proud of what they've done throughout the season, and at least hold their head up that at least they put on a good show. I'm happy for them.
I mean, the one thing you can say about SimRC, I beg your pardon, I accidentally cut through you. You were saying something, Lewis?
No, I was just saying it's not really much of a consolation prize in pressing ads, but still.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. No, but still, I mean, if you look at SimRC, you normally associate them with what? TCRs? Yes. GT3s? Yes. Now, you can say the same about GT4s. They've just established that they are a competitive unit in this car as well, which is normally so hard to do. It may just look like a different number on a GT car with less, aerodynamics, but it's so much more different. Such a different approach, such a different style. So, to establish yourself as a strong competitor, across the iRacing service in a car so difficult within 6 weeks of racing, that takes quite something. Even if you're a team of the stature of SimRC,
they've come into it looking like a team that, again, they've taken to it like a duck to water, in a sense that they've looked like they are a GT14.
Yeah,
right? This is their specialisation, and that's a tough thing to do. That takes effort, that takes preparation, almost a little bit of luck, in the sense of like it's a car that you all get along with, so there is a little bit of that, but the preparation is a key part of it. That's why I scored a 4, because I'm not a preparation master. I turn up half an hour before qualifying and hope for the best, but it works out sometimes, not all the time. By the way, this is not the final lap of the season, this is the penultimate lap of the season. 90 seconds a lap. They cross the line with just enough time for the 35 to do a nice big old victory lap, same as they did in the previous race as well. Slightly less dominant in this race, in the consideration that that's still a 5-second lead. To say that they're slightly less dominant shows how dominant they were in the previous race. 10.3 seconds they led by across the line. Only it looks like it might be 5, maybe 6 seconds across the line in this one.
what's going to happen? How are they going to survive just by winning by 6 seconds?
Terrible. Unacceptable. Yeah. I think they should quit.
Oh man, they've been so good. You're so good that a joke like that can be cracked on you. You know you're so good.
Yeah,
that's just quite something.
Well, the 10-second win margin in the previous race was the biggest win margin that we've had all season. That's how dominant it was. Just cleared off from everyone. I think the second closest was about 6 seconds in the earlier stages, and that was also post penalties as well. So I'm pretty sure it was the longest by a long margin in comparison, near double the second longest. And it might well take first and second on the longest and second longest on the winners list, in the consideration of how far they are ahead in this race as well. That gap has come down a little bit. I think that, again, cruise mode is activated.
Maybe they just want to take that ceremonial photo like all the manufacturers have both their cars coming together, you know?
Can they afford to drop back though when... Oh, they are dropping back now. I think you're right. That gap is coming down. Yeah, I think this is photograph worthy. Yeah. That's fair enough. Respect them.
Yeah? Well, will Maniti do that? Or will they just, steal it at the very end? I mean, again, it's a saying. You don't celebrate too early. You give it your time and you focus firstly on the winning. But I think Maniti recognizes they won't do that, would they?
No. I think also I don't think Core would drop back enough that Maniti... They're going to get close, but they're not going to... it's not going to be drama across the line. By the way, they have 1-2'd before this season. They 1-2'd Zolder in the first race there. And guess what? It was the 35 winning from the 34 there as well. Lights flashing. And of course, for the second time this evening, in fantastic fashion, Thomas Gibson, Maxi Ramstein, across the line, winners once again. That makes it 3 for the season for Core Sim Racing, but we must focus on Pascal Stix and Oscar Mangan, your VRS Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge champions, as they cross the line in second position. Another fantastic race from them, another consistent performance across the round, and the title is theirs. What a fantastic season it's been. And also let's give our plaudits to Maniti Racing Green for getting onto the podium. That is a great effort.
I think the word that you mentioned right there, Lewis, was perfect. Consistent. That is exactly what's taken Core Sim Racing to the next level in this championship. That is exactly what separated them from the rest of the pack. And little wonder that both their cars are so high up. I wonder if the number 35 has actually taken second in the championship, but we shall see about that. Whatever it is, these guys have been, by far and away today, the best.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. But you're right, they would have done. The 35 would have grabbed second in the championship. Hadn't even thought of that. Hadn't even crossed my mind as being a possibility. But that is true, they have. Didn't consider it. Fantastic once again. I mean, it shows how close they were actually in contention. Those wins and the form that they've had the last few rounds from the 35. They may be looking back at that disastrous race 1 at Austria and thinking, if we hadn't had that, maybe we could have been the champions. Either way, a fantastic season it's been, and Core will be very, very proud of that. Another 1-2 for them. 35 ahead of the 34, and now we get to see some lovely photographs. Gonna do some donuts. Oh, did that escape from the 34 just to allow the 35 to have its moment of glory? Porsche with a nice BMW logo in the background. Fantastic. Welcome to the Nürburgring.
Don't send that image back to Munich, but Core Sim Racing. Oh well, they have taken to this championship so well. First shot, straight up, and immediately, there's no denying, they have been the best team. You've got to give it to them.
Fantastic stuff. This is quite a celebration from Gibson right now. Fantastic stuff. Great to see. And love a good celebration. I absolutely hate it when you win in a front-wheel drive car and you can't do donuts. Absolutely sucks. Our results then for the final race of the season provisionally. It'll be Core Sim Racing, the 35 ahead of the 34. Another 1-2. Maniti Racing Green join them on the podium. Team Racebox Sim Racing and Fiercely Forward IRS round out the top 5. Another great performance from Team Racebox, just consistency. Shame it wasn't a podium, but shame it wasn't a race win, but still, consistency is the order of the day. The 53 had a better race this time by finishing in the top 6 and not being dropped a lap down in the early stages, courtesy of Sim Contact and Sim RC. An unfortunate day for the 77. They won't even be the runners-up in the champion. You're absolutely right. They will be down to 3rd. GSR by ACV in 8th position, with Maniti Racing Black and Acetec Sim Sports Volante in 9th and 10th. And then behind that, the 3 other cars. We had 2 retirements across the day from Alcatec, NHR and Kairos competition. Maniti Racing White, unfortunately, back down to the end of the field, not having a great final to their season. But still, they built their way up through the season itself. And they put on a great show for us. And at least we got to talk about their rise back up. I think it's about time, though, that we grab ourselves an interview. And the first team that we are going to talk to, and we are going to give a massive congratulations to the number 34. Let's have a chat. Oscar Mangan, Pascal Sticks in the commentary booth. We'll speak to Oscar Mangan to start off with. Let's just talk about it. Congratulations. Never trust a commentator's maths. But as far as our maths show, champions, what a season you've had. Talk us through the season.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy. Like we were quietly confident in the last probably round or two, but to really get it across the line is a really satisfying result. So hats off to Pascal and the team for all the support and everything throughout the season, and to Marius, Maxime and Thomas as well. Yeah, really, really happy to get it done. I guess the start of the season we had a strong kind of opening, pretty much like getting the win at the start, stuff like that. Barcelona was a sort of bit of a mare. We had a bit of a setback there, so it was kind of back to kind of keep digging and just trying to get points again. And sort of I think after Monza, we were pretty confident then that it would be kind of not possible to be beaten, but we knew that as long as we just kind of kept doing what we were doing, we'd be in with a good chance. So yeah, really happy.
So the highs and lows of a season like that, where was the highest of highs? Was that Monza? Was that the double victory there?
I'd say Monza, yeah. To win the championship here is really good, but Monza was really fun. Just like the fact that we got the double win, and it was complete like hard fought battles for both victories was really satisfying. So battling against Jamie and the other SimRC car as well was really fun. So I'd say that's my season highlight anyway.
And what are your thoughts from the season itself? Racing in GT4 is not a car that most people are particularly familiar with racing in. What are the positives that you found across the season, just as like the actual wheel-to-wheel racing itself?
I think these cars are really good at, you can kind of work multiple lines to kind of get yourself in a position to fight. Some cars, it's kind of like one line, and if you deviate from that, it's very difficult to kind of make an opportunity out of it. But with these cars, it's, there's it's all about the momentum and the weight transfer, so you can kind of like use your brake pedal and the steering inputs to kind of just balance the car in a certain way you want to kind of get a run. And if the guy ahead kind of goes defensive, you can always get a cut back and stuff like that. So they're quite, at least the Cayman is quite a small car, so it's pretty easy to just kind of nip and tuck between, like kind of duck between each other. So I'd say it's definitely a great class. And if iRacing could add a few more, it'd be great. And
to Pascal, once again, passing on the congratulations for the championship to you. We're going to roll it back just a little bit to race 1 this evening, because you were having a bit of a tight battle with the number 77, your closest championship rivals at that point. Was there a little bit of fear in that race, in that tight battle towards the end, that maybe that they were feeling a little bit more confident, showing a little bit more pace in the race, that they might be able to contend for the title? Was there a little bit of pressure on?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that the only thing we had to do is stay close to them, finish with them, don't finish too far behind them. And so being one position behind, it was okay. Still, I wanted to pass him, but I had to be careful not to make a mistake. That was the most important thing. Yeah, in the end, I think I could have made the pass. Was a bit disappointed after the race, but yeah, in the end, doesn't matter. We got the win.
Some teams have sort of stepped up through the season. Other teams have dropped back, obviously, with a car that some are fairly unfamiliar with. One of those was Maniti Racing Green, that were applying pressure to you at the end of the first stint in the second race. Was that a bit of a surprise to see Maniti up there battling with you?
Yes, actually, this was a pretty big surprise. I don't think we have seen Maniti on the podium the whole season, and they were really strong. They had so much pace, especially at the end of the stint. I think we went a bit wrong with the setup to maybe suffer a bit at the end. But yeah, great battle. I think Oscar did the most of the battling in the end. It was great fun to watch, and yeah, great racing these guys.
Well, again, from all of us here, huge congratulations to the pair of you. Well done. Go and celebrate.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a million.
Thanks.
Lovely stuff. Great from Pascal Stix and Oscar Mangan, your Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge champions. We'll have another interview. We've got Maxime Ramstein in the commentary booth with us today. And let's be honest, what a round of racing you have had. 2 victories from the evening. That has got to feel mighty good. Talk us through your evening as a whole.
Yeah, it's a shame they don't all go like this, honestly. Yeah, that was above expectation, to be honest. That was really good. Thomas did a spectacular job. His pace was incredible, and yeah, with starting up front and staying there, it was uneventful, I would say. But that's kind of how you want them if you need the points. So yeah, super stoked.
After the opening race at Austria, where there was a little bit of disappointment, it didn't go away from pole position as well. That pole lap that you did was fantastic. Unfortunately, the race didn't quite go that way after some early issues. Does it make it even more sweet to come back the next week to take the double victory and to take second in the championship?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the potential for good results, I think, has been here like every week. But we've been unfortunate in some circumstances, or just racing happens. So, and that was definitely the case in race 1 last week. So it feels very good to show what we are capable of, and yeah, so super happy.
And we've come to the end of the season, so got to ask, what's next?
Well, for me personally, I'm doing the GT3s tomorrow again, so that's like next. But yeah, looking forward to the endurance series, the SCO endurance, which should be announced soon, I think, the schedule. So yeah, we will be sure be there in full force, and that will be the main focus. So yeah, great stuff.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations. Give our congrats as well to Gibson as well. Fantastic rounds all night.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks guys.
Lovely. And Sommel, back to you. I mean, what a season we've had.
I'm a bit sad it's ending, as with every good championship. But this one has been especially superb. I know I have a bit of an agenda with GT4s and DCRs. I always do. I always like those sort of cars. And to see this sort of a championship where you have one team, okay, they're winning away. It's like MotoGP, right? It's like where you have Marc Marquez constantly. You know that there's going to be one person with a bit of a gap at the top of the championship. But every weekend you come in knowing that, okay, X team or X rider can do so good. Y team or Y rider can do so good. Today, Maniti were the perfect example of that. Where were they when we started the year? Nowhere. Here they are fighting for third. So all of this just comes up together, right? Adds up to make this such a fun championship. And I can only ask, well, when's the next one?
Absolutely. And well, I mean, if you want to speak about next ones, we do also have racing for the Virtual Racing Schools,
yes.
Sports Car Open, Sprint Masters, the finale, the championship battle between the 91 and the 93. Super tight. That is on at 1:30 tomorrow, UTC as well, for the final of the Sprint Masters. And of course as well, you can head to giveaway.sportscaropen.com for your chance to win a Lego Technic Porsche 911 RSR, as well as a VRS Driving Force Pro wheelbase as well. Some final thoughts of the season?
Oh, well, again, bit of sadness, but on the whole, lots of satisfaction. And satisfaction for one clear reason. The fact that we got to see good racing every weekend. I mean, we often end up saying, oh, I wish we could have it again. I wish we could have it again. But I think clearly this time out, we enjoyed every single moment of it, right? Just drinking it all in. The errors here and there by Coe, but they still ended up taking the win. The major accident from Barcelona, Volanti getting a podium with a BMW, now Maniti finally coming in. It's those tiny moments, and oh, who can forget German sim racing's lap of the gods in a way at Austria. So it's all been full of good moments every single round, and I think that's the best memory you can carry with every championship, right?
I think that 10th to 2nd's got to be one of my highlights of the entire season. What a fantastic effort it was. We should have updated points for you as well. They're very quick with updating these, by the way. And you can see there the championship standings. The number 34 tops the leaderboard, but it is the 35 jumping into second. And hey, Team RaceFox weren't that far away either, should they have got up into race winning contention SimRC have to settle for third, unfortunately, but the 77 scores 177 points, so at least there's some fitting in there. The 76, which wasn't here this evening with 118 points, stays inside the top 5. Then you've got fiercely forward Miniti. The German simracing.de by Hetznicar that wasn't here with that double victory shows how many points you can hoover up by taking 50 points for both race victories, way ahead of the ACB car that was here for most, if not the entire season. Fiercely forward IRS, pole position in the opening race of the season, scoring the very first point in the VRS SCO Sprint Challenge. They are down in 9th with Radical's online track race, who missed a couple of rounds of season and did not have the best luck. Now, there is no next track. That is us sorted for the season.
Yeah.
It's been a fantastic one. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, of course, to you, Sommel, for joining me all the way through the season. I've been Lewis McGlade, Sommel Aurora alongside, and of course, Hugo Luis on cameras and broadcasts all the way throughout the season. A reminder to join us once again at 1:30 tomorrow UTC for the final of the Virtual Racing Schools Sports Car Open Sprint Masters. For us in the Sprint Challenge, that is us done and dusted. We thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.